Yes, it is.
Oh,
My God,
Let's get the show on the road.
Chip. Shall we stand and pledge the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I make a motion, we open the board meeting.
Motion made, second?
Second.
Made and seconded. All those in favor?
Yay.
5-0. All right. Let me read my commercial. Good evening and welcome. We are happy to have you attend the Select Board meeting. The Select Board meeting is a public meeting, not a public hearing. You do not have the right to speak at a public meeting as you would at a public hearing. However, it is the custom of the board to allow people to speak. We only ask that you wait to be recognized, be respectful to your neighbors who are speaking, and that you stay on track. We are recording the meeting minutes, so please state your name for the record. Finally, if you have not signed the register, please do so before you leave. Okay, and one thing before we start, I'd like to run by the board. I'm suggesting we make a slight change in the way we do business, in that we had at the very end of the agenda, usually there's always a thing that says other, and it's meant for people to say what's on their mind. I'm suggesting that we put a section at the very, very beginning before we actually get into new business and give people who want to speak, as long as it's not something that's already on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, wait for that until we get to that item. But we give everybody 2 or 3 minutes to say what they have to say, and then we can consider it if we need to do something to follow up or ask the town manager to be involved, whatever. But if that's agreeable to you, we'll do it. If it's not, we won't. What do you think?
Agreeable to it.
One.
Make a motion or something?
No, I don't need a motion, we just do it.
Let's try it, see how it
Yeah,
works.
Try it. All right, that's what
I'm
we'll
in
do.
favor of
If it
trying.
doesn't work, we'll go back to the old
This
way.
is, ostensibly, this is to allow
If it doesn't work, we'll let you know.
items
Sure
that
they will.
haven't made the agenda to be considered, at least discussed to some degree, is that correct?
I'm sorry, say again?
This is kind of set up to allow items that didn't make the printed agenda to be spoken of, or at least discussed at a
Yeah,
meeting.
if somebody in the audience wants to talk about something that's not on the agenda,
Sure.
we'll give them 2 or 3 minutes to bring it up and
Sure.
you know, we won't necessarily act on it right then and there, but at least we can hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
If that's agreeable, we'll start that next meeting,
Okay.
okay?
Sure.
So if you got something to say tonight, forget it.
You can say it at the end.
Just say it. Okay.
Get it right.
All right. First item, new business, discussion and possible action on chimney repair at Belgrade Lakes Fire Station. Town manager, you got something to say about this?
Well, before I do, did you want to hear from the road commissioner about just an update on the paving project?
Yeah, sure. I
Isn't
didn't
it
think
later
so.
on in the agenda?
No, it's not on the agenda.
Not on the agenda, which is why I forgot
No,
it,
I
see?
think we got an email about it that
Yeah.
Morris
Yeah.
wanted to talk maybe for no more than 10 minutes, right? Was that what you said?
2 or 3 minutes, is it? Go ahead, Morris.
You can say
Sit
second.
sit down. No, stand up, it's better.
Yeah, get up again. Try that again. Yeah. We'll help you out.
Go ahead, Morris.
Our paving project's running way behind, as everybody knows. And I don't know why, but they've missed 3 weekends. Like, they work Friday, Saturday, and nobody been showing up, so they should have. I know budgets are tight, but they would've got that, they probably could've got it tied in, both layers on all 3 roads. Road temperature supposed to be 45 on the startup time in the morning, and haven't seen them around to check on them anymore. That won't cut it. It's supposed to be 45 and rising. Sometimes it'll be 9, 10 o'clock, we get that temperature. Now we got wet roads, and it's just as bad or worse. Can't put the tack road down.
Supposed to be a cold week coming up, too.
And so? Yeah.
So I don't know when we should pull the plug and ask the site people to help me with that decision, because I don't know what it's gonna come down to. Look out for the prices for next year for the carryover.
That's what my question was gonna be. What are they gonna do about if we do prices?
In-
It's kind of their fault.
Yeah, in your email, you mentioned that. you
Well,
were
we,
gonna-
we had a discussion, Morris and I, once before with Gene Alley, who's the foreman on this project, and he assured us that if they didn't get it done and they had to do it in the spring, that the asphalt prices would remain the same. I, at that point, said, well, we're gonna need some further consideration beyond that, because there's no good reason why this project wasn't finished this fall, and if you want us to wait until the spring in order to lay the final layer of hot top on that, then we're gonna need some financial consideration. He said, well, I'm not authorized to approve that, that has to go to my superiors. And so, you know, if Morris thinks that we need to pull the plug on this, I think as part of that, he and I need to see if we can talk to someone who is in a position to give us some financial consideration, because, again, I just don't think there's any good reason why this project hasn't already been finished.
And you have to, get an email from James.
Yeah, I got an email yesterday from Gene saying that they anticipated starting up again today and finishing up the Dunn Road and tying that in and then moving on to the other roads. And I'm with Morris at this point. I just don't see that happening with the weather conditions being what they are. And not that we would, at this point, even want them to, I don't think.
We'll get shoulders to wear that. Because it's gonna freeze out there. I don't know where we stand on it,
Well,
where the board stands on it.
Yeah.
well, it sounds to me like there needs to be a meeting, Morris, between you and the town manager and someone in upper management at Pike. It's not like this is the first project Pike has done for us, but this is one of the, how do I say this, lesser quality ones that they've done, almost like, yeah, we're a shoo-in, Belgrade is, so they're not giving it a ton of attention. And I think that perhaps we need a sit-down meeting, we need in writing that if they complete this in the spring, that the price of asphalt is not going to change from where it was this fall. And we need a written guarantee from them when they're going to start the project up and have it finished by. We need to be first on their priority list and not at the tail end.
Well, the road's now in a position where they'll be usable and plowable this winter.
You know, they're gonna have to do something where Wayne Mildor comes into 135, they cut the joint there, match in, it's gonna get your attention. And the plows are there and all. Get 135, get that road, but one of them's gonna take that.
Jack?
Jack Sutton. I know this afternoon they had the eastbound lane on the Dunn Road done. That must have been put down yesterday if they had that on the list. It leaves about half of the westbound lane on the river. I would be a little bit concerned about leaving it in the winter because of this
Unevenness.
middle of the road and catching it and doing damage to the end of it. Number one, I would think number two, that before the winter sets in, we want to get the plowed up banks on the shoulders knocked down, so if there is drainage of the road continuously, it doesn't pond up and run down alongside the road and wash out the edges. That's a matter of running grading.
Can the Dunn Road be finished, you think, Morris?
And they get that much down, they should be able to one more day, they should do the east side,
What's the weather gonna be tomorrow, do you have an idea?
pretty decent.
Yeah.
Cold in the morning, and Thursday afternoon, and through the weekend, it's gonna be a white one.
Well, I'm in favor of taking his advice, Morris's advice, but then, then it comes into, my question is, if we're first on the list in the spring, we want to make sure the ground is warm enough then too, you know, that the frost comes out and they're able to do it. You know, reasonable, we'll have to watch that, I think, because if they show up here at the end of March and it's still, the ground's still, I don't know, it's hard to say. We don't want to put ourselves in a position then too where they do it when it's too cold, which potentially could happen if
you take control of that.
I don't know when they get started.
They got a week for the posters to come off anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that, but in general, yeah, you're right, we have some control over that.
I also like your idea of talking with upper management about some financial considerations, since, as you mentioned, this has not been their stellar job.
Should we, do we have that written into any of the contracts at all in terms of like, it should be, if it's not done by a certain date or by the end of the season, that, you know, they pay a fee of some kind? I mean, maybe we should consider that in the future, if this is the way they're gonna drag their feet. You
I
know?
think this is a hard lesson learned
Yeah.
in that regard.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
We've had that on the contract.
Let's make a note of that, just, you know, some sort of an impetus of some kind, you know, so, just, you know, they've got all year to do this, and it's just,
Good, Marcia.
We can't shut them off completely though, until they get that down road done.
yeah.
Yep.
And they see, stop right there.
Yeah, I'm
'cause it's
concerned about
almost like
that done road.
It's an age,
Did we- have we-
could be worse, but I think the road was worse than that before paved.
If tomorrow's a decent day, they ought to, is there any way we can find out if they're coming out tomorrow, or will come out tomorrow to finish that road?
They can track them down in the morning.
Is only that one day's work, you think?
Just for the under.
Yeah, I mean,
The ones
They're not gonna leave that like that, I can tell you that, there's too much liability for them too. I can't imagine.
Well, and it looks like tomorrow's supposed to be 45 for
Yeah.
the high.
That's what I just looked
And
at.
coming straight through next Thursday, there's not a day over 35.
35,
Sunday's
right.
43, but they're probably not coming out on Sunday. But we're looking in the 30s, which is,
Dan, did you have something?
That was my question about the contract. There must be some contract you guys signed, what to say in there or not.
There's no time frame for when it has to be, or number of days it has to be completed.
Doesn't have to say
within.
it has to be done this year?
It doesn't say anything about punitive damages, and so I think that's something we'll have to consider moving forward.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure, for sure.
in future contracts,
Yep.
if this is the way they're gonna do
But in the
business.
meantime, we can pressure them.
Yeah.
My feeling.
Understanding, Kathy, that we don't really have any sort of legal ground other than
I
trying to shame
understand
them,
that.
other than
Understand.
trying to shame them into it.
Well, also the threat that they may not get hired again.
Yes.
Yeah, but I gotta tell you, this, for the last couple months here, we've been dodging rain about every other day. So it's screwed up all the contractors. Morris will vote for that, I'm sure. I mean, we're way behind.
Mhm.
Can't even get the work done. So, you can't blame it all on the contractor. It's, weather's interfered a lot with us too.
I guess my feeling
Thank
is
you.
follow the recommendations of the road commissioner, you're closest to it.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned about the comments about the Dunn Road, and that apparently they're gonna take care of that, so hopefully they're gonna take care of that. Beyond that, you know, it's kind of up to you and the town manager to make a decision, if you wanna cut them off when you think you need to cut them off. Disagree with that?
well, because then we've also got to, fix the apron on 135, right? So, that's handwork.
That'll get done.
Nowadays, they pave the road, it'll be concrete in the pave. If we just go make a paper for the winter, that's handwork.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Marcy.
I think that we should give Mike a certified letter, making responsibility for them even more so. And then whatever we need to do, make it safe, to be in their hands.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Put the responsibility back onto them.
Yep.
Yep. Can you and the town manager work on that? Can you work with Morris and put the letters like that together? Is that agreeable?
Yeah, I'd authorize
Yes.
them to do that.
Make it so.
We'll work on it tomorrow.
Thank you, Morris. Does that give you enough to go with?
I
or-
think so.
Okay.
See what happens tomorrow when you talk to them. May change the whole game, but I don't, they're gonna finish that road. They can't leave it
Been
like that.
dragging for the last 3 weeks now.
Hmm.
Enough's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ricky, over I would say the last 6 weeks, they've always told us they're gonna finish within 1 or 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, just every week has been the same story, too
Three
little
phone
progress.
calls are ahead. None of them from the phone supervisor.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Thank you, Morris. All right, next item discussion, possible action, oh, back to the leaky repair at the fire station.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask our fire chief to weigh in here in just a moment, but just to sort of set the stage for him is, we have a leaky chimney out at the Lakes Fire Station.
Better.
And we don't have the funds available within that particular line item in order to address that repair. So the board, a few meetings ago, said that they were uncomfortable with us moving money between line items within departmental budgets and all. And I did check with MMA Legal. They said that, you know, as long as the voters approve a warrant article that lists only the department's bottom line expenditure, there's nothing that legally prevents us from doing that. And I think having that sort of flexibility is important within the departmental budget. And I think this is a good example of that, in that when we set a budget in March, we don't know what the circumstances are going to be over the coming 9 months. And if we adhere strictly to those line items, then we're hamstringing addressing needs that arise, like leaky chimney at one of our fire stations. So, and I'll let Dan talk about what the past has been at the fire department, but we're here to ask, you know, for authorization to move the funds where they need to be within departmental line items in order to address these sort of unexpected circumstances.
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
This is kind of an emergency situation. This is one that you can overdraft that line item, I believe. I don't know why you can't, because it's emergency, it's got to be done.
Well, I'm just concerned because of the prior discussion that we had here with the board about moving money between line items in order to address needs.
Well, can I?
And I'm not.
An overdraft is different than
Yeah.
moving the money.
Absolutely.
An emergency is a little different than if we take a little from here and a little bit for there, then we can cover raises for people.
Take a good look.
That's
I mean,
totally
the history of
different.
the whole thing.
History of the whole.
When we first started this, Dan McKenzie, the fire chief, our budget was, we had the buildings in our own budget. And then a few years back, somebody had the idea to put it in facilities, which is great. They did it. They took it, you know, we had like $3,000 budget. So they put it in for maintenance of the building. Then they decided they wanted to be more, I don't know if it came from you guys or from the budget committee, what they wanted to be more defined of what it cost for each building. So then they took the 3,000 and divided it out to 1,000 for each station. Just because that was 3,000 for each station, it was easy. It was never, because we've always moved funds and we've been a bottom line, you know, one budget. We've always done all our repairs through the year, and then at the end of the year, we buy the stuff we want to buy, and it's never been a problem. Mary told us we can't move money. This can't be approved. Like, I don't understand this. We've always done this. It's never been a problem. Just a little history of that. I mean, it's a great idea. You know, they want to have, you know, exact cost for each station, but when you have a repair that needs to be done in one station, we come to you guys every time we need to do something. For that, I think is a little crazy. So, we've always been able to spend our budget. We try to do it the best we can, but sometimes expenses, the repairs go way over. So then we don't buy any equipment, so we put it off to the next year. But sometimes the equipment budget goes over. That's something we can't control. We don't know what's gonna break that. We got to do the best we can.
Thank you.
So what do we need, a motion to make this happen, or what do we have to do?
Well, I think we gotta figure out too, the moving money within budget's part of it as well. And the reason, Dan, I wasn't here for all of the beginning parts of it, but there can't be any one department in town that is allowed to move money within their budget without, because that was part of the problem, is that there was not a lot of oversight. And it wasn't that one department or another department was doing it, but there was the, you know, what we were hearing and from the budget committee and from the select board was that there needed to be more paying attention to what was going on. And I don't know if maybe we need to have a side fund that addresses emergencies.
I mean, if we're gonna do that, then we need to go, we can shrink the budget. Stop having all these little, I mean, one for the depot station, one for the lake station. We have a fire department budget. We don't need to have, I mean, you see our spreadsheet now, it's ridiculous. How many things we get done? And we need to narrow that down. and then you won't have that crossing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, our budget's gone from being simple, and now it's 4 pages long, trying to fill out every little one-line item they decide to do. If that's the case too, I think the town should be voting on the one-line item. So you should be putting this into the town report. They're voting on a one budget number, not
Yeah.
all of these.
Right.
You wanna do that,
I think that's
you're
what-
gonna expect a 2-day town meeting and a big town report.
That's what the attorney was saying, basically, if I understood what you were saying, is that
Yeah, and I also think,
they don't vote on the line items, they vote on the bottom line.
correct, and I also think what Dan is saying from, my vantage point is that we have to have some flexibility in order to financially manage this organization. And if we're gonna stick strictly to whatever we decide in March is not going to change, because circumstances change over the course of 9 months. I just think that's, again, it's gonna hamstring, a better financial management of the organization.
Well, the other thing, I mean, just like, we have a major repair to a truck, and we have to wait till your next select board meeting, because we're tapped out on that. We're gonna have to come and wait 2 weeks to get that, or you're gonna have an emergency meeting to address that every time there's it's worked in the past, we've never.
We
used
fixed
the
it,
budget.
worried about paying for it later.
Right.
That's what's happened.
But then we were told we can't.
Well,
And from what Dan has told me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, about this, is if he had unspent monies at the end of the year, that he would invest those into equipment purchases that benefit the department, benefit the community, because the money had already been appropriated by the voters.
Or it goes into the capital, our capital.
Or it goes into the.
that's been tradition over the
Yeah,
years.
but I think, Ricky, I think that is actually good financial management, is they're very conservative with their costs throughout the year, hoping that they'll have some unspent monies that they can then invest in some needs for the department. And I think that's, it's the way I always operated my budget.
Way it's always been.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
nothing new.
Really,
I mean, I was fire chief quite a few years.
Yes, sir.
And
I think
that's,
he'd be able to say something.
that's exactly the way it was. I mean,
But I
we,
think it was
we,
good everybody.
we
It
paid,
wasn't just us.
well, we're probably the one that had the biggest budget though, back then. And we saved all the money, whatever money we saved over the end of the year, to the end of the year, we used to buy equipment at the end of the year.
Buy gear, buy hose, buy whatever.
Yeah.
If we didn't have any, we'd try to get it the next.
We didn't have, yeah, exactly. So, yep,
And I think that's a good practice. I
That's
just
the
think
way-
it
that's the way it
needs
should
to
be.
be an organizational practice, not a practice that's applies to just
I think,
one of our departments.
I think what happened, come up, if I can, what happened on line item and the budget a little bit more is because we asked some questions about, if I remember right, about what this certain building was costing to keep going. Nobody could tell us. They'd say, well, it was X, Y, and Z, and it didn't come out to what it should be. So that's kind of why things are broken down a little bit, to be able to see what each building's costing.
And I don't quibble with that at all, because I actually think, and Jack might want to weigh in on this, I think that's good accounting, and I think it's good budgeting. I mean, the reason you have that broken down is so that you can budget and know what your costs are, and account for those costs over the course of the year. And then the following year, if you see that you've had a cost overrun in a particular line item, then you adjust the budget accordingly the following year to account for those costs.
Basically.
And I see what your point is, yes, you should know what it costs to raise, but if we happen to go over by $500,
So be
you'll
it.
still know what the cost is, but we're not going over a total budget because we had $3,000 for all 3 buildings, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
we're not trying to hide anything, we're just taking care of business, and you'll still get the cost of what it is for each building.
I don't think it was the fire department we were looking at though, just to,
Well, I mean, I
but
think you can see.
but we had to
with
share it
everybody.
with everybody.
I know, but I think it's hard for everybody.
Yeah.
You don't, I mean, things come up, it just happens.
But something like the chimney is a no-brainer. You gotta fix it.
Yep.
Dan,
It's
what,
an emergency situation.
this particular question, what kind of money would need to fix the problem?
Some good, I think, it was.
$600? We ought to be able to do that somewhere.
I would think so.
It could be an overdraft.
Yeah.
If that's for the
The
next.
money's there, just in the
Yeah,
depot or.
yeah.
or
Well, and I don't
something.
even-
It's just there, it just needs to be.
Yeah, and I don't even think it has to be an overdraft for the fire department maintenance facility budget. It's just moving money from
Yep.
either North Belgrade or the depot station into the lake station in order to
We're
pay
still
for
gonna be
the.
under the
to
3,000.
pay for-
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's just nothing that much.
Yep.
That makes sense to you?
Yeah, but I think we do have to make a motion for it.
Yeah, fine, but I mean, if we go that route, I mean, does that seem logical, a good, proper way to do it, is what I'm asking?
For this one, yes. I mean, I see Mary's struggle, I think, because in order for her to keep track, I mean, she kind of got a pile of crap dumped in her lap because stuff wasn't being well managed previously, not necessarily just under the last term. So then somebody's trying to sort that out, and it's like a ball of yarn. So she's pulling on one thing, and it's pulling 3 things in on the other side. So I understand that, and I know she gets pretty like, we're not doing it, that's not how we're doing it.
Well, and-
So,
and she's afraid she's gonna get in trouble, and then.
Right.
And like I told her, I said, no, this has been the past. And I don't know, and that's when he found out from MMA that it's not, it's not written in the law.
All right, I'll make a motion that we allow the fire department to take 600, the amount of money necessary to make this repair, probably $600, out of the total facilities repair budget.
It's really a facility budget.
It's out of the total facility budget. Look at that as a total $3,000. Take what you need out of that and repair that.
Second that.
Need a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? 5 in favor. Thank you.
One more question, so what, I mean, we have like our equipment repairs are over, so we're gonna bring all them into you guys, and you guys gonna have to approve them all? That's what I'm saying, this thing's getting to be a mess.
Yeah.
And this has never been this problem.
Well, if I could make a motion that we keep budgets simple, that would be a great
I
motion to
mean,
make.
if that's the case, I think we ought to redo our budgets right now, and, you know, these things that.
Well, it's something for
It's
sure,
getting to be-
for sure perhaps we need to look at. It's like we're about to go into the budget process, so we're actually into it now.
Can we make a note that we look at that and change it, so maybe back to the way it was, at least in some fashion?
You have it now, it needs to be repaired?
Well, we've already done it. It's already, we had a couple major repairs, so it's in the red. But we still have, one on our bottom line, we're still on.
And again, to get to the point that Ricky made earlier, I think having those line items, it's good accounting, it's good budgeting, because we know how the money is being spent, and we can budget accordingly, you know, in subsequent years. It's just important to have some level of flexibility within those departments.
Between the lines.
The vehicle repairs, equipment repairs is over, but we have equipment purchase, if we're gonna buy some equipment, we're just gonna, you know, that money we use for that, and I'm not doing buy equipment.
And-
That's just the way it is, you know, that's the way we deal with it.
Yeah, I think in our minds, as long as we do not violate that number that has been approved by the voters, then I think we're operating within the bounds that they've set for us.
That makes perfect sense. I think, you know, the fire chief should come in here, explain things if they need to be explained, but you shouldn't have to come in here every single time we have to, you know, decide if the money's in the budget, or, you know, just to move it from one line item to another. It's a waste of our time and a waste of his, I think. But, you know,
We
it's
have
just-
enough on it.
Jack?
Yeah. You referred to me a few minutes ago, so I'll back up here for just a minute. I agree with that. I agree with for general articles, basically routine articles, which we see every year. The figure that was approved by the voters at the town meeting, what the controlling, it doesn't make sense to me to try to pin line items down once a year and have everything follow through without any changes. Life doesn't work.
Not at all.
I think that changes within that figure that's been approved should be left up to the department heads working with the town manager, and that's where the responsibility should be for control.
Yeah.
I think there's one exception, or an exception to that, where there is a big unusual amount involved. And I cite 3 years ago on the Point Road, on the road project we had then, bids came in about almost $250,000 under. And we, together, the budget committee, road committee, board of selectmen, decided to do a bigger, better job on the Point Road. So it was $250,000 that was a piggy bank at that time. And I think that was too big a number to just ignore and do something with because it was there. That's the only kind of exception I would make to what I said about the figure approved at the town meeting.
You think thank you, Jack. You think we should set down in writing the acceptable procedures, so if this comes up again, we know whether we're in the right, or should we just do what we've been doing? What I'm thinking is, should we have a policy that defines when you can just move the money around and when we can't?
I think that would be fine.
A dollar
And-
amount?
And maybe that'd be a good thing for me to work with the budget committee on.
Well, I think that part's probably important, and I also don't want, how do I say this? I mean, we had an example last year where there was a budget request that came before us, and it was stated at the meeting that it was for a specific purpose. But the reality is that the specific purpose was really not gonna be realized for like 3 years. So I'm gonna ask for this amount of money, and we're gonna do this, and it's not exactly what it is we're trying to do, because we really wanna get to this point. And what I don't want to see is departments padding their budgets or fluffing how much they need, because then if there's a little extra, then we can slide this over and do this project, because that's what got us into this pickle to start with. And it's not one particular department that I want to single out, but there was a reason that we had to get a little bit more nitpicky about what the line items were, because there was too much stuff being put under very general headers. And then there was no follow-through on what it was really being used for. So, but maybe now it's too tight, you know, and it's not that we
Well,
can't.
that's what I'm thinking, maybe a guideline to help us and help the departments know when they can do it and when they can't, what we can do, what we can't do, what they can do, and so forth. Might be helpful, might be useful.
Well, and I'm happy if you work with the town manager and then the select board gets a notice that says, you know, hey, this is what happened, we had a leak in the chimney, we had to pull a little out of this, and so this is the amount that was there, this is what's there now. So we're at least kept in the loop. The surprises are
Yeah.
the worst ones.
George?
Just one thing to consider, and it's sort of
George Steele.
George Steele, resident, Westwood, is to use a system not unlike what the state does, where you can seek basically a variance, i.e. come to the select board if you're going to exceed a transfer of money between line items of
X amount of
pre-established dollar amount, and that dollar amount is fairly sizable.
Yep.
In the cases I was familiar with, it was $25,000.
That's most of our budget.
Yeah, we don't have the state kind of money here, George.
Yeah, but it's
No,
good,
but
it's
I
a good
think
thought,
that's,
though. It's a good thought.
I think that's a legitimate
But,
approach.
yeah, so that way, if Dan had a engine blow, and it was, I don't know what that cost, but say it cost $30,000 rather than $25,000, or whatever the magical number is, at that point, you would come before the select board to explain the situation, or do it in writing, whichever you prefer. But if it's below that, it would be, at his good judgment.
Right.
The other thing we've got to remember, this department's different than a lot of the other ones. They're emergencies. I mean, they can't wait 6 weeks to get a motor. I mean, or 3 weeks. They got to get it back in service. So it's a little different situation than most of the other departments here. I mean, most of the other ones can wait a month and.
Well, I don't think
be fine.
anybody's really disputing that at all.
I know, but I mean, sometimes it's nice to get right on it. You know what I'm saying?
And the large purchases, we've had to come to before, because we've got to take it out of capital reserve, so the pump, and we've got that couple pump repairs that cost $20-something out. So we didn't budget for that.
Right.
You know, we try to do a maintenance prediction, but you never know what's going to happen. That we had to take it out of capital reserve. We always give explanations, I mean, it's not like we're hiding anything, and everything is itemized to Mary on everything we do. It's not, there's no, if we do have a project, and we're going to do a paving project, we put that as a separate warrant article. We did it last year. I mean, it's always, this is our operating budget, pretty much.
Needs and wants.
Right. And anything extra above that, that's we do what you're talking about. We ask for you know, our capital reserves or paving projects, or if we want to put an addition on the lake station, we have to, you know, that was a separate article. We didn't try to put that into the budget.
Well, Anthony, can you take it all into consideration, try to work something out, work with the budget committee? I would spend some time with Dan too, since his department is somewhat unique.
Yes, but keep in mind, if a boiler blows out at the library, that's an emergency situation.
But that's a situation,
Yeah, yeah.
it's not like buying a book.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, I agree with you
Or
there.
fixing a window.
But any department could face an emergency situation, just depending.
Yeah, I realize.
Something like that, an email might work too.
That's right.
We'll come up with a process to bring back to you guys.
Those are things that's gotta be
Sure he'll
fixed.
come up with
Well, and I
something.
wonder if what we do is we simply set up an emergency fund that's tappable with the stipulation that any unspent emergency funds do essentially go
And-
back to the undesignated fund with the purpose
In
of
the new
offsetting
budget- the new
taxes.
budget put in a-
However it is we want to do that, so they're not just extra money that just keeps hanging out, but if we're asking the taxpayers to fund an emergency fund for unforeseen expenses in the current year's budget that can be tapped into by the fire department, can be tapped into by the library, can be tapped into by various facilities, and then whatever's left, we have a plan for what happens to it at the end of the year.
Why don't you give that some thought too, give that idea some thought too? It might,
I mean,
Vernon.
the situation we've got though is not, I mean.
You got the money.
There, it's just,
Right.
you
Yeah.
guys get it so
Right.
categorized so tight.
Yeah.
Yep,
It's not like we're.
I'm really not too interested in setting up another fund that the taxpayers are gonna put their money into. Never be you.
That's Travis.
okay.
Just to quote my viewpoint on this, in 2017, we were asked, our budget changed quite dramatically. We added a bunch of categories, we split the stuff up immensely, but it was with the understanding that we had some flexibility there. I think that was a good thing to do, because you can see, you know, how things split up between the stations and all your expenses. It was like, we had some flexibility within the line.
Well, we're going to try to fix that for you.
When I was training salespeople, I used to tell them, when you've made the sale, shut up and leave it alone.
That's right.
You got your sale.
Moving right along.
Okay. All right.
Move on to the next one.
Next item, discussion and possible action on use of fire department revenue. Sounds familiar.
Well, and it is, and let me explain. The auditor has asked for more documentation of how these three different bullet item revenue sources are going to be used. And she's been working with Mary preparing for this year's audit, and so this is simply a matter of satisfying the auditor by saying, yes, we're going to use $9,908 in cost recovery from the tanker fire, and we're apply all three of these things to the fire department equipment budget, which was their request, and you guys have discussed this previously, which would increase their current budget from $8,000 to $24,085 with these additional funding sources, unexpected funding sources. I guess unbudgeted funding sources, if you will.
It sound agreeable to you, Dan?
Yeah, I just think, I mean, Ernie, I think it said it at that time, it was sort of, we asked about buying equipment that we bought from the buyer, the tanker fire, and they kind of got quit dry hydrant, so there was confusion about not having it for equipment and the dry hydrant.
Yeah, and so again, this is just something our auditor has asked us to do just for documentation purposes.
Can somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
I mean, it's just kind of brief.
I'll make that motion, whatever. Let's
Okay.
get moving.
Motion's been made
I'll
to
second it.
put that, apply this money to the, what'd you say?
Fire department
To the fire
equipment.
department equipment.
Fire
Equipment
department
budget.
equipment. Second?
And
I'll
kudos to
second.
the auditor for noticing
I'll second
that
for
there
you.
was something.
I'm sorry, what were
that-
you saying? I can't
I
hear you.
said kudos to the auditor as well for
Okay.
tying those in.
We don't put that in the motion, but thank you. We'll
Well,
make a motion.
we motioned and seconded already.
Yeah. All right, any other discussion? All in favor? 5 in favor, thank you. That'll be easy. Appointments. This is Christine Merkin first.
I don't know, she's kind of shady from what I hear, but
I would like to state for the record that any discussion of this, I will abstain from.
Thank you.
thank God for that. I'll make a motion, oh, you haven't even know. I'm sorry. Go ahead and read it first.
Okay.
Jumping the gun.
Yeah, that's all right, no, we basically said it. Christine Merkins applying to be the town health officer. Christine Merkins.
I'll make a motion, we accept that.
Thanks, guys.
Made-
I'll second it.
Made and seconded. Any discussion?
Welcome aboard.
All those in favor?
See how easy it is?
4 in favor, one abstention. And Christine, thank you very much for doing it. Next one, Jill McKenzie, this is a reappointment. Jill McKenzie to Don Stevens Trust Fund Advisory Committee, a reappointment.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Made and seconded. Jill McKenzie, all in favor? 5 in favor. Good, thank you. That was easy.
It should all be that easy.
She
Yeah.
just needs,
This is the Saltwell one. Do we have to do that? All right, discussion, possible action regarding the Saltwell contamination issue.
thank you.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well,
We'll see you again soon.
Dwight Dowdy, who is a hydrogeologist from DOT, is back this evening because we've been talking, Dwight and I and some folks from the Maine Water Drinking Program, the Maine Rural Water Association. And so we've just been talking through the different options that we have for addressing the saltwell contamination issue. And I think the consensus is that none of them are without some level of discomfort. And of course, we've talked about providing a public water system, and we've briefed you guys about those discussions previously. But one of the things that concerned us was that people who are affiliated with the Maine drinking water programs have very serious concerns about the financial sustainability of any public water system that is that small. They say they know of no system that size in the state that has proven to be financially sustainable, and that's obviously a great concern. So we started talking about some different other options, and one of the things that we discussed was the purchase of some of the properties. There are 15 total properties, 12 of them are residential in nature, and we thought that if we were able to buy some of those at least and reduce the number of properties that we would need to provide fresh water to, we could then consider either installing some RO systems at some of those places and/or drilling some test wells to see if we could drill some shallow wells that would yield clean water. And so with that, I'm going to, Dwight, is there anything you want to add to that?
Can I just ask, what's an RO system? Is that a reverse osmosis?
Is that reverse osmosis?
Okay, that's what yep, that's what I thought. I just wanted to,
And Dwight, if you will, talk a little bit about the pros and cons of an RO system for a home.
For residential properties, particularly small properties that we're dealing with, some of these facilities don't have enough space to locate a treatment train, because it's not only just the RO unit, reverse osmosis, but the water quality itself would have to be polished before it goes into the RO. So we're looking at, in addition to some of these smaller places that have to be heated as well. ROs are also, they generate a lot of excess water. It's typically, you'll hear manufacturers say it's a 2-to-1 ratio. We're seeing more like a 4-to-1 ratio. So for every 4 gallons that's treated, you get 1 gallon of drinkable water. So then that other 3 gallons has to be managed in some fashion. Typically, we avoid trying to route those into the septic system because the septic systems are not really designed for that quantity of water. Plus, the concentrated salt tends to wreak havoc with the bugs that are in the septic system. So there are some challenges there. It also tends to acidify the water a little bit. You're removing a lot of these minerals, so you acidify it, so you lower the pH. So the risk of corrosion associated with the internal plumbing system is increased.
well, that sounds like a great option.
It's an option. It's one of last resort, to be honest with you. We do try to find replacement wells. That's the most preferred option, the best preferred option. Here, we'll readily admit, there are some challenging issues here within the Beltway Triangle. But to Anthony's comments, we're looking at identifying a handful that would be very problematic trying to resolve from an RO or from an additional well standpoint. I'm sure if these people would be receptive, but at least looking to start a dialogue with these folks as another option. And still pursuing the public water supply option. We're moving forward with that, seeking approval. Once we get approval, there's sort of a point we can stop before we move forward with the design for the distribution system. So it seems like a good opportunity to pause things right now, catch our breath, and see if there are other options to investigate.
And Dwight, when you tell the board why you think there may be some viability for punching some more holes and finding some fresh water at shallower depths?
The characteristics of salt, it's a dense material, so salt water is denser than fresh water, so it tends to sink. And our experience has been that this salt water does sink rather rapidly. And we're seeing this here as we move further away from the source areas, particularly over here in the on Route 11 near the post office. We were successful in putting a shallow well in, replacing a deep bedrock well. Unfortunately, that well became recontaminated, we suspect from the discharge associated with the water treatment system here. So, but we feel that if we move further down the road, down to the post office, the lower unit time, the depot road, the opportunity to stay shallow, the potential for success is increased.
And if memory serves me correctly, did you not say that the Christmas store has a shallow well and they have good water?
Yes, there are two locations, I believe it's a Christmas
Yeah.
shop, as well as, I believe it's Calvasius Construction. They have a very shallow well, which levels are higher than normal, but much lower than 250 threshold.
Jack?
Something that I don't understand about individual wells. You drill a well up in the area where the salt is stored. That's kind of your focus for the municipal water system. How deep is that well?
400 feet.
And what's the quality of that well?
We're very hot, very good quality. Fluorides are less than 10. We do have a little arsenic issue, but arsenic tends to decay over time. The pressure flow drops, so we would have to have a treatment system for arsenic. But that, other than that, everything else is working on the
400 feet isn't an unusual depth for a private well.
Typically, most drillers will stop at 300 feet and then frack it, hydrofrack it. So it's more, the deeper you go, the likelihood of a high quantity well is decreases.
Right.
So they commonly drill about 300 feet.
The reason I'm asking the question is, I wonder if for X number of homes, 15 or whatever, homes, whether it makes any sense to consider a deep well in the bedrock, like the one that you drilled. At the time where water, to set up a home water system that's done once and done.
There's challenges, as I said, with the density gradients as we move further down gradients here. The interesting thing about the well that we located was we used the Stevens well, that's the Stevens pit, which was no fluoride, perfectly clean water. We did borehole geophysics and identified, and what we did was we were able to identify the actual direction of the fractures. And so we were able to identify those fractures that did not trend upward or underneath the salt storage area. So those fractures were at 374 and I believe 385. And it was fortunate that both those fractures produced 80 gallons a minute total. So it was like threading, it was like finding a needle in a hayfield.
If you could drill either a shallow well Farmington. That seems like an alternative to discuss.
That's our primary and first goal.
Yeah.
And as I said, we're very successful with Mr. Burgess's property in doing that. But the water, the well became contaminated again.
I thought you said that one was a shallow.
Yep, we drilled, he had a bedrock well, it was contaminated. We moved up, pumped it into a shallow well, but
And then that
we
was
were unaware
recontaminated.
that the infiltration gallery associated with the area was close to that.
Okay.
In the scenario that Jack just described, I mean, Dwight's right, that's sort of become a focus right now. But I don't want to lead anyone astray. I mean, I had the assessor run the values of those 12 residential properties, and it's 1.4 million, that's just, the assessed value. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the market value. So we're still not looking at any sort of cheap options here. It's gonna cost some money, but like Jack said, it could be a one and out for some of those situations.
And we are actually, we've reached out to the Attorney General's office for guidance on this, because there may actually be need for paid verification costs, which may increase the overall purchase as well. So we've certainly bird dogging some of the alternatives, and I think that's fine tonight. We're looking for a discussion to say, can we pursue some of these to see if it's maybe some other options that are a little more palatable than trying to spend another $2 million for
So what we would like to do is simply engage in a dialogue with those property owners, just to measure if that's something that they would consider, if they'd be interested in, and kind of go from there.
Tom?
Tom Dowd, just a question. I'm used to, my company I work for had chemical contamination. So basically at the site, they were extracting water and treating the chemical and basically getting it out of the environment. I mean, it sounds like with the RO, you basically process it and put it right back into the environment. So I guess my question is it practical at all to go back to the site, extract the water there, and basically try to clean the site up as much as practical, so that we're not continually, handling the same contamination?
The ultimate goal would be to eliminate the sources, and then let Mother Nature to ameliorate itself. Desalination is very complex and challenging. You have to essentially have a desalination plant up there. And the cost associated with that is something I really can't speak to right now. I don't believe I've ever heard of treatment for salt impacts using some type of treatment in New Jersey. I'm still aware of the petroleum and DOC, other DOCs and DOC issues, and metals for treatment on contamination sites. I have no previous life.
Just a matter of curiosity, letting nature take its course, how long are we talking about? Eons?
We still have, I think we've chatted about this in the past, there are still 2 sources up there that.
Assuming we could clean those up.
Elimination of those source areas, I think one of the benefits we see here is it's a fairly high flow aquifer system with the sand and gravel, so the water does move briskly through here, but we're still talking decades.
Yes.
So our sand and salt storage shed now is not a source of contamination, is it?
It's the housekeeping associated with that.
Spillage and stuff like that.
Just to put it in perspective, 1 teaspoon of salt will contaminate 5 gallons of water above the drinking water threshold. So it doesn't take a lot. It's spilled on a parking lot, or when you're filling a truck, if you're still 5 or 10 pounds. And you're doing your police events over the year, and you're doing that for 3 or 4 trucks every event. It adds up.
You can
And
frequently
the reason we say that unfortunately, we see this at our own facility.
Yeah, because I'm like, realistically, what else are we supposed to do with this sand and salt? Are we supposed to put it on the lower lying area? So, what would
There's
be
not a
the
lot you can do with
solution
it,
for
short of
that? Yeah.
Building some big pad or something like that would probably cost us more,
There
and
are
then it
some
wouldn't be.
facilities that are loading inside. Again, if you start looking at the size of those facilities, rather costly, but there are some techniques that can be employed to minimize that.
But then they go down the road spreading it right out. This doesn't make sense to me at all. I mean, we're talking about, what'd you say, a cup full of salt for 5 gallons of
Teaspoon.
a teaspoon rather, and here we are, I mean, I don't know how many pounds go out on
Putting
these
it up
roads,
by-
but
putting it up by the
a
ton,
lot.
yeah.
I mean, there's a pile down, like I told you before. You go down that hill and you could go out with a shovel and pick up load.
I think it's a societal issue that we're all gonna have to wrestle with at some point in time.
Right.
We're slowly seeing watersheds throughout the northeast states,
Deteriorate.
chloride levels year in, year out that are increasing. And right now, there is no very viable alternative to salt right now. There are some chemicals out there, calcium, magnesium acetate, but when you start looking at $100 a ton for salt and $1,000 a ton for CMA, we're not there yet.
No.
Well, we're also looking at the fact that we live in a lake community. So, when you increase the sand, then you increase the phosphorus that then affects the water quality. And then when you're talking about, different chemicals that could possibly be put down, I'm over here like, can we not guinea pig the lakes all the time because we don't want to. We shouldn't be.
Those will afford me an opportunity to get on a soapbox. When you do look at other countries, I'll refer to Quebec to our north. They actually have a law that requires everybody to have snow tires. And something as simple as snow tires go a long way. But these are societal issues. Scandinavian countries require 2 licenses. You have to have one for summer driving and one for winter driving. So there are, but all of these things, I think we all recognize that the legislature every 2 years is new legislation to require snow tires, and it really, I don't think it really makes it out of me.
Well, if people just slow down, it would help. If they want to be able to drive in the wintertime like it's summertime.
I don't know that that's necessarily the case.
Come up land
You
in the
know, but
West Road.
Oh, and I've seen my end on the West Road. There's always gonna be idiots. But for the most part, I drive like a meme in a snowstorm, but I still would like to be able to have the ability to get where you need to go without having to do more than once I've been caught on Minot Hill Road and had to back down because it wasn't plowed, or it was plowed and there was nothing else put down on the surface, and then it just becomes clear ice. So how are you gonna get home?
We don't have an answer to it.
No, we don't.
We probably can't attack it tonight either.
George Seal, one thing to consider as you're weighing the different options, before you kind of go through the winnowing process, is among the other impacts we've already discussed about, which are public health largely and possibly economic damage to people's funds. Also consider that if somebody came into this area of the contamination plume, salt contamination plume proposed business that fell under the commercial development review ordinance, the planning board would have a hard time proving that unless they proposed some kind of treatment system or went to the measures that White's already discussed in finding a clean replacement drinking water supply. And this is an area that's been designated a comprehensive plan for economic development. So that speaks to, that really is another negative for reverse osmosis versus some more systemic kind of solution, like a small water system or something like that.
What is it that you're looking for? You'd like
We'd
permission to
like
go ahead?
some direction, and I think, and Dwight, correct me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but we'd like to engage in a dialogue with these property owners to see, to measure what their level of interest would be, and if that's something worth potentially pursuing.
Well, it's one of the options that we have to consider. One of the options that we put forth for us to consider.
You mean what their level of interest is in selling
So,
Correct.
or in drilling a new well?
I think the idea, excuse me,
Oh, sounds like I got frogs in there.
Crickets.
Cricket, yeah.
ideologists.
Bedtime.
Well, anyway, I mean, do we want to give the town manager permission to go ahead with that, town manager and Dwight?
Well, I almost feel like we would want to, this something we would propose doing individually, or should we as a select board, along with the town manager and you folks, have an open forum discussion with the folks that are impacted?
Well, I think the intent here is to keep it an informal basis where we can, knock on the door, collect a sample, and discuss, update these folks to say, this is what we're looking at. And one consideration may be acquiring some property. And just keep it at that 40,000 foot level and ask if they would be willing to discuss that further. If we find that eight out of the 10 on this little stretch here are not interested, then I think we've got, our answer, and we've got to move forward with another option.
Jack?
I think in evaluating options, before getting too far into discussion of individual landowners, it would be useful to ask through tax assessing, what's the incremental reduction in value because you have contaminated well as your water supply? If a house is worth $100,000, a property is worth $100,000 now, assuming no contamination, it's worth $75,000 with contamination, $50,000. You take that into account because I think that calculation and come up in this discussion.
At DOT, to resolve other similar issues, we assume there is no contamination to the well. And so it's assessed as fair market value, appraised as fair market value.
But one way to compensate owners who are having problems or suffering from a contamination problem, and no one is really identified, would be to reduce the tax rate based on valuation, reduce valuation of that property.
By law, we have to resolve the issue. But just by lowering the tax rate does not resolve the issue. State law requires Maine DOT to provide local water to resolve this issue. There's also statutes that require municipalities to participate. The difference being to resolve it legally would be through the state commissioner's office or DOT, which would be through the court system for
Because at this early stage, we're not going to be making any offers or anything like that.
golly, no.
Strictly
No.
just, would you be interested? This is one of the possible ways of solving the problem, would you be interested? And if they are, then we have to do it further. And at some point, I think, we did discuss getting a group together and having a group discussion or a open forum.
I like Dwight's idea of just trying to talk to people one-on-one, informing their interest. And if we find, for instance, that 8 of the 12 are interested, then we can have sort of a group forum and discussion, just share some thoughts.
Tom, I think my personal concern with that would be that if somebody came to me and said, gee, how do you feel about selling the property because of the contamination, and then nothing came of it, I'd hire an attorney, and I'd be suing somebody. So I think you're opening a door, basically, and I guess one of the topics, when we had discussed this in passing, there's an RO location here that's under the control of the select board, which is the office right here, that, maybe it's worth spending $15,000 to drill wells and see if this site can be treated for a lot less money than a potential purchase.
15,000 doesn't buy the well.
Well, It's a lot cheaper though than spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy some.
The fact is, we're not gonna solve it tonight.
No, and that's not what we're here for. We're just here just to update you guys and just to seek some direction about which option at this point you'd like us to explore even further.
Be brief. You can go.
George Seal again. I think it's a really good idea to start having discussions with the impacted homeowners, because they're gonna have to ultimately buy into whatever solution DOT and the town come up with, and if they don't, it's not going anywhere. Likewise, start giving serious consideration to how you're gonna inform the voters, because the voters are ultimately gonna have a say on this, and if they don't buy in, then this is not going anywhere, no matter what the solution that's selected that is most cost effective.
No way.
So I think we started with last year's budget process notifying the taxpayers by setting up the salt well contamination remediation fund. So by doing that, we had to have some explanation. Have each household that's impacted, have they been notified already? Notified that their wells are above
We are providing bottled water.
and providing bottled water, so it's not gonna come as a surprise. I'm also slightly leery of somebody that they don't necessarily know knocking on people's doors.
There's a handful of folks, myself, and a gentleman who works with has been the prime contact, and so, we continue to do that.
They've already spoken to the folks.
Well, they have, but I'm just gonna fill you in on something that happened. My daughter was babysitting at one of the houses. Somebody showed up on the property. They didn't have identification on. The dogs were freaking out. She was 16 years old. She was like, called me at work, somebody's walking around the property, looking in the window. I don't really know what to do, Mom. So I would request that if anyone were going to go door to door, that they have something identifying who they are. Maybe verbally identify who you are, because it's not always the homeowner that's there.
We make appointments with every homeowner over there, so I'm not sure who your daughter saw. We also have DOT vehicles when we arrive.
Well, when she contacted the owners, they said, oh, yeah, you know, we did say that they could go ahead and come, but no one had passed this on, and she was scared out of her wits, quite frankly.
All right, what do we need from us tonight? Just the go-ahead, we don't need a vote on that, do we?
I don't think we need a vote, just.
Everybody in favor of starting this?
Gotta start someplace.
Yep,
Yeah.
you have to start some places, right?
No? Okay with it?
So we're asking homeowners if they would consider selling their property to the town of Belgrade, because there's gonna be a whole lot of questions that come past that. Do I still get to live here? What happens if I willed my house to my kids? There's all kinds of other stuff that comes with that.
Well, there are other, as I said, right now, we're seeking counsel from the AG's office, so before we move forward on that, we're gonna have that archaeology.
Well, because you said that there were other communities that this had been done, correct? So wouldn't there already be precedent for how to handle some situations that might arise?
We have done it on an isolated basis in several locations around the state. We did pay relocation costs at that time. So we're just trying to clarify if relocation costs are needed or not. Under federal highway for transportation and regular initiative, relocation costs are required. So we just want to make sure that
Good
this
stuff.
is here, since it's not a federal highway initiative, it's all state money, that we are abiding by state rules and regulations.
And so Dwight, when you talk about singular cases, you're talking about, we're not talking about 12
No.
people, you're talking about one or two.
An isolated home that, with a small postage stamp lot where we were unable to locate a clean lot.
Okay, so when you're saying relocation, are we going to buy people new homes to move into?
I am not a
premature.
property.
Yeah, a little.
It's, really moving costs associated, if they can't find a house at comparable price, so it's a 3-bedroom place here, and they want to move to another community, and the community, for a similar price, or similar size home is slightly more
think those are the costs that have to be bridged. But again, I'm not in the property office, I try to stay in my own sandbox and play with the environmental work.
Yeah.
George, good to see you.
That's all we've got, but I want to move on. You have your hand up, you just
So,
rested.
I was just gonna say, I think the protocol and procedure for taking the actual test is going to play an important role in this. Thinking of the teaspoon and 5 gallons of water that might be, can be to financial benefit to maybe asphalt at some point in the process. Maybe not to you or me, but maybe to some others. And I think how that's done and who does it and what controls there are on that process can be very important.
Okay. I think the town manager's involved. One thing that I know Anthony can do is he can talk to people without getting too excited, so I've seen him do it a number of times. But I think everybody will be aware of the potential downfalls of what you guys have. And I think we will too.
Bruce Seal, thank you. It sounds like whether deliberately or not, we've reached the conclusion that purchasing these people out, buying them out, is the preferred option of the town?
No.
Because that's what it sounds like.
No.
No, what we're saying, we've said, is we're just exploring this possible remedy. We're not saying we've not made a decision to do that. We want to know, is it even viable? That's all we're doing at this point. See if people are amenable, would they be amenable to it? And if they are, we'll move on. If they're not, we'll go to another route. So we're not saying at this point we're gonna go buy houses, buy properties.
I mean, Dwight's done this a lot, and I did this in my career at PPP, except for oil contamination. And you might want to consider laying out some of the other options as well, so you don't start a wildfire through town. The town of Belgrade is going around buying property along Route 27.
We will,
Not do with it or leave it.
Right.
Okay.
You all know how the
yes.
rumor mill works in town.
All right, unless there's something else anybody wants to say, I'll move on.
Well, and I don't think that George's idea is a horrible idea.
I didn't
feel
say
like,
it was.
You know, maybe we say, these are the options before the town. Do you have, what are your thoughts on it? You know, give people 1, 2, 3.
Well, I think we should give the town manager a little credit. He's good at talking to people. And I'm sure he will handle it properly, but I think George's point is well taken. Well, it won't hurt to say these several options we've been thinking about. This is one of them. Okay?
Yeah, or these are the 3 options that we're talking about. You, as intelligent adults, what do you think the best case scenario is? Maybe we do a survey
Okay.
with them, essentially.
Moving right along. Discussion, possible action on erosion control measures by the Belgrade Lakes Association at Peninsula Park.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks.
So, BLA President Carol Johnson recently approached me, and the BLA is interested in doing some erosion control at Peninsula Park, and so I'm going to turn it over to her.
Okay. I think all of you have in your packet the paperwork on this. I had an occasion to be down at Peninsula Park looking at some other things, and when I got there, I was sort of astounded at the amount of erosion and the lack of erosion control in Peninsula Park. And specifically what I'm talking about is there's a space there where about 3 cars in the park, and there's a gate that keeps people driving down in. And right in front of that area are 2 or 3 large pine trees. And those pine trees are heavily eroded. And then, or starting to, visibly eroded, I guess is a better word. And then as you go down to the right along the spillway, there's a chain link fence, and that's where the people fish. Right. get the right agenda here. And standing there, there's some crushed gravel along that area. The rest of it, there's no vegetation, and the water can just run down and run right in the spillway. So in looking at it, I got a hold of 7LA and Lake Smart and the appropriate people and said, am I imagining this, or is this a really big problem? And people went, oh. So we brought it to the BLA board. We understand that this time of year we're concerned about snow coming down the hill and the water running off and spring rains. At the BLA meeting, we asked the board, understanding that probably there's not a budget or a time to get anything done by the town at this point. And the BLA board voted to authorize monies to take care of some immediate steps to help prevent winter runoff and spring rains. So knowing time is a crunch, since we may have snow on Friday, we went ahead and prepared a permit to DEP so that if we got the approval from the board, we would be ready to move. And the permit itself, I think, is in your packet. We got word late this afternoon that they have approved the permit. And what we're proposing to do is to put crushed stone that will be put around the base of those pine trees to help with erosion control there, and also a pathway down to where people fish, and to lay some more crushed stone along that area to try to catch some of the dirt and things that are going in. And then behind that, we would put erosion control mulch, which is a very heavy mulch with a lot of stuff in it. I think there's like bark and some small rocks and things that we would put down 6 inches of erosion control mulch. And at that depth, that should hold the rain. So the runoff would pretty much go through the gravel and then through the erosion control mulch and keep it from going into the spillway. So the cost of BLA is about $1,200 for us to do that. If we spread it ourselves, if we pay someone, it's $2,400. So if we have your approval and move ahead with the project, we'll be having a work party to take a couple hours to get that spread and put down. Eventually, it's going to need some plantings. Those obviously is not the time to be doing any serious planting, a little late in the season. So in the spring or at some point, that may occur. YCC is an available option to the town if you look at making your properties really smart and doing those. We're not around now, so that's why BLA is going to start it ourselves. So what we're actually asking is for your permission to allow us to spend the money to do some immediate erosion control at Municipal Park.
I'd make a motion that we authorize them to do exactly what Carol says.
I would second that.
Melanie?
Well, this is dated 10/24. I think it's a fantastic idea. It's a great project. But did anybody else on the board know that Seven Lakes Alliance was applying for a permit on behalf of the town of Belgrade?
I knew there was talk about doing this. I didn't know that they were going to submit a permit. I wasn't sure that you needed a permit, so it's maintenance, to me, it's maintenance.
We went ahead and applied for the permit because, one, the fees are going up, and two, if we waited till tonight, we'd have to wait 2 more weeks before we could get a permit approved. So in order to be able to get it done effectively, we went ahead and applied for a permit.
Is the town manager notified?
Whether we use it or not, the town manager's name is on this.
Well, I knew about it when Carol delivered the permit to me after it had been submitted to me.
That's not your scroll.
That's not your
That
scroll.
is not my signature.
Yeah, so that's,
So Charlie Bader applied for the permit through 7LA. I talked with Anthony that we wanted to do this, but we went thinking, gee, we probably need to get approval from the town. So we had talked about there was erosion issues there.
well, we really honestly, Carol, need, I think it's a fantastic idea, but the process really needs to be that the town of Belgrade applies for permits on behalf of the town of Belgrade unless we ask for someone else to do it on our behalf.
But at the same
So,
time,
but at the same time, yes.
at the same time, we
I think
appreciate
it-
appreciate the fact.
Absolutely.
Right, that, you know,
Absolutely.
it's an identified need that wasn't identified before.
And I can understand the immediate circumstance, you're running out of time and it needed to be done. However, in the future, come to us first.
Agreed.
Well, the first
The next time you're out
permission
there
first,
checking out
is
your
this
road.
okay if we do this?
Hopefully the next time, there'll be a great, we did a great pond survey, there'll be a long pond survey, and we'll have more time to figure out what needs to be done, and the town to be interactive again.
The motion on the table is there.
There was a second as well.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Other discussion?
I have a question after we vote.
Ask a question before.
Okay. Good God, Rick.
Way it should be done.
Okay, no, the question has to do with when springtime, it's sort of a forward-moving question. When springtime comes, now, I was at Peninsula Park not too long ago, and, I mean, that's hard pan. That's really hard soil. And thinking forward to perhaps having the YCC come and help with the plantings and that sort of stuff, it looks like there's going to be a significant amount of ground preparation in order for that to happen, okay? Just saying that out loud, because I'm thinking that then the YCC needs to come and do a full evaluation of what is necessary. And then we can
But
get
before
permits
yeah,
and move forward on it.
we'd appreciate your advice and your help,
Absolutely,
but let us file a permit.
yeah.
Actually, this permit did include approval for planting some plants.
What are you going to plant this time of year?
Not now, but
Okay.
if the permit's granted now, it's allowed for X amount of time, so if they do, if it is decided.
I was going to say, is there an expiration date on this at all?
It's a permit by rule, so it's for small.
I can't answer that. Charlie was the one, but Charlie said if we.
Permits
if
are
in
valid
this
for
permit
2
we
years.
ask
What I was
2
gonna
years?
say.
If
Okay.
we ask to
I
put
wasn't
plants
sure.
in, then we get all in under this permit.
Okay.
Before,
And then, doesn't mean they have to be put in, the work will be done, but we have to put it in.
I would ask that before any other work is done, whether it's covered by the permit or not, that we sit around and we know
Yeah,
what's going to happen.
we're sitting at this point funding the fall project.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything done in the spring will be.
That includes the planning, we need to talk about that, too. We need to talk,
1,200 is just the gravel.
It's just the work they're doing
Okay.
this fall.
Looks
So
like
we're
they're
just
getting
looking to
bluestone,
take care
but
of
they're
the
not
immediate
getting
problem.
cut rock.
it says, about 4 inch, it also says 4 inches. It's
This
awfully
doesn't,
big, isn't it?
this doesn't say what it,
It says 4 inch in there.
should be a soil
Somewhere it says-
stabilization.
Oh, right here, on the narrative.
On the narrative, that's for,
That's
down the
probably-
road, I would say, not now.
Anyway, it doesn't matter, don't we? All right, anything else?
No.
Ready to vote? All those in favor? Thank you very much, Carol. We appreciate it.
Linda, hard to go. Anyone who wants to come spread mulch and gravel, let me know.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
when are you going to do it?
Thanks for that offer.
Probably Saturday. Won't be Friday. Weather's not good, but if we can get it organized, maybe Saturday, if not, it'll be the first.
Okay, thank you.
As soon as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, discussion, possible action on change of Belgrade Public Library's days of operation. Mr. Town Manager, start.
So our librarian has done an analysis of our traffic per the day of the week, and that's included in the package. And what she found was that the facility is used much less on Monday than any other of the other days that it is open. And so the library board and the library director are proposing changing the days of operation to Tuesday through Saturday. So the library would be closed on Mondays when it's currently open, but open on Fridays when it's currently closed. Same hours, 2 to 6. I think this would make it easier for people to remember to be open 5 consecutive days. And they think that they may see an increase in traffic. I think one of the beauties of this plan is that if it didn't work out, we're not married to it. We could always change the schedule again, but I do think it's it's worth a try, and I don't know if the librarian or the library board chair would like to speak to this.
I think you signed it up pretty well. Mondays, almost 50% less busy, less busy than that, I think work on it. I think we open up Fridays to give people a better chance to come to the library and see what all about.
Do we have?
I'll recognize people.
Sorry.
Thank you. I was about to make a motion, we cut me off. So, what are you gonna say? Say what you're gonna say.
I make a motion that we accept
That's
this.
the motion I was gonna make. I'll second it. Two of you. All right. Motion's been made. Any further discussion on the motion? Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on it? Okay, all those in favor? 5-0. Make the change. Change the sign. That was easy.
Some things
Sure
in
people
life
know
should be
it.
easy.
Don't get used to it. Thank you. What's next? Discussion of possible action, auto graveyard permit renewal. for
No, we got a
Frank-
CEO quarterly.
No, excuse me, I'm sorry. Sorry, Carrie, it's up to you. CEO quarterly review.
Been patiently waiting.
Oh, working on a couple things in both Matthews, one of them down Castle Island Road, and all your junk, all the vehicles in place there.
Okay, sometimes you've done like, how many permits you've issued and stuff. We didn't get one this time.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you did. I probably stashed in my book because I hang on to that stuff.
Did you want her to stay for the executive session?
No, sir.
Thank you, sorry, no.
That's okay.
Permits is actually substantially dropped off right now.
Can't imagine why.
At this time of year. Castle Island Road, we had, I think we have 19 vehicles down there, we're down to 6. Still one more than legal.
No, did that happen after there was the,
After we had a meeting with the owner and explained exactly what was going to happen and what the potential fines were going to be.
because weren't they served? Did we get notification of?
They haven't, I don't know if they've been served
Yeah,
yet.
so you may recall that you guys authorized us to do that, and that was sort of the hammer that we were holding over them, and as soon as that happened, they started removing cars from it. And they moved a good number of cars, and then they were just like stuck at 4. And we waited to initiate the enforcement action, thinking that we weren't gonna have to go there, but once they stopped at 4 and it was there for a while, we initiated the enforcement action. And so our attorney has gotten us an initial hearing on December the 18th, and we think that they may have been served because that happened sometime last week, and so that may explain why there's another car now removed. But as Gary said, they're still in violation of the law, because they can't have any more than 2 of those on that property.
Right. And hopefully it's not 2, hopefully they're all gone, but.
How do you count the boat?
That's the owner's boat,
What do you say?
and I really don't have any control over the parking boat there, it's not his camper, that belongs to him. I really can't say anything about that. I think we're getting close to a resolution, and one that we've been dealing with for a year or more, same code.
Mhm.
So hopefully that will get resolved.
Yeah, the property owner got us his permit application just yesterday. So we're looking at that, and at the next meeting, our attorney suggested just to cover our bases and other things, that to have you guys just ratify the consent agreement as executed. So I'll bring that to you at the next meeting.
We're dealing with the DEP on some grant monies to help the individual on the Horse Point Road, who's in need of a new septic system. The state has some money for that purpose, so we're working with it.
That's the hardship case.
It is, and the bids are due on that November the 15th.
What else you got? Sounds like you're busy.
I have been busy.
How's retirement?
Like I said, permits tend to drop off this time of year. I spend a lot of my time out in the field looking at stuff that we've already previously issued. Looking down stuff we issued, but sometimes you do.
With this work that the BLA is just talking about,
Yeah.
would that require a town permit? look at it as maintenance,
Well,
or,
they got a DEP permit, that's all, really.
well, assuming they didn't get their DP, would they need a town permit?
Well, what if they were hauling, like one says 25 yards, and they're in the,
Yeah, which are not probably.
so I think they're covered. Condition. I don't know, we got 2 permits this week that are going to the planning road for the 2 minor stuff.
Yeah, we looked at those online.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The next item is this junkyard. Do you have anything
Yeah, I
to
went
add?
and visited that junkyard today. They do that on the yearly basis and come back to the meeting, make sure it's not completely finished. I don't see any issues, I don't see anything going to the review of it. So I think that it's fair to say that we need to use a license.
Is this the one over behind Lois Hazlett's property?
No, across the road.
Across the road, okay, it's on the other side. Okay. And the butters were notified that we'll be selecting.
Yes.
Gary, what's this part where it says it can junk be seen from any part of the highway, and it's marked as yes?
What do you do? The application?
Application for
Number
automobile
6.
graveyard, blah, blah, blah.
6.
You can
Question
see
number
some- You can
6.
see some of the trucks.
If you go down the driveway, you can see
Yeah.
some of the vehicles. Like I said, he's had this license for as long as I've worked here.
Uh-huh. Oh, I know he has.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah,
It's probably one of the cleanest ones around,
it is.
to be honest with you.
But he doesn't accumulate a lot of vehicles, I noticed. What he
Nope.
has is, he has some big containers beside his garage, and he's got like scrap metal in those where he can recycle. So
Yep. Yep.
it looks like when he brings a vehicle in, he takes what he wants and he deals with his deal.
Especially, yeah.
Yes.
You don't have a problem with it.
I'll make a motion, we accept that.
Second it. Yep.
Made and seconded, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? 5-0. 5-0, can't be moved by.
That's right.
Good, that's done. Good. Keep up the good work there. All right, discussion, possible action on motor vehicle registration agent fees, town manager.
So, for the past 15 years, the town has been collecting $3 on re-registrations and $4 for new registrations. The state actually allows us to charge $5 for re-registrations and $6 for new registrations. So that's $2 higher than we've been charging for the past 15 years now. If we were to charge those additional $2 per registration, it would amount to about $9,000 in revenue this year, additional revenue, or in the coming year, additional revenue. We also have an option of charging an additional $1 for non-residents, so when the Rome town clerk is unavailable, when they send their folks here, we could charge them, an additional $1. And so Cheryl asked me to bring this to you. She thinks it would be a good idea, and I agree. It would help offset some of our increased cost with personnel in the coming year, and so we're recommending approval.
Discussion?
No.
Wonder why we never went up for the last 15 years.
I know, 15 years.
I think when it's come up in the past, it's one of those little things that we could keep down for people. And it wasn't impacting us a ton.
I never heard of
$9,000 over
it
the course of the
before,
whole
that's why I had
budget.
masking.
It's not a great
Make a
thing.
motion?
No.
Yeah, I make a motion, we approve it, the increase. In the last 2 years, we've had $2 increase in minimum wage, and I just think it's, we've reached that point. We've had 15 years, I think it's time.
Okay, I'll second it. That includes the additional $1 for non-residents, so if we do any rooms.
Yep.
Sure.
Okay. Made and seconded, other discussion? All in favor?
I guess so.
All right.
I got mixed feelings, but all right.
Yeah, nobody likes to do it, but. All right, adoption of general assistance ordinance and appendices with maximums for 2019-20.
So you guys know that you approve the maximum for general assistance each year. They change on a yearly basis when the legislature updates the ordinance. And so we're asking to approve those that are in your packet this year. These just tell us how much, people can qualify for maximum levels, depending upon how much they need. Now, in addition to that, when I went through my GA training recently, the field examiner noted that we needed to adopt the GA ordinance on a yearly basis. And I went back and looked, and the last time we did that was in 1997. And so in 2019, the legislature has updated the GA ordinance, which the MMA has written, and it adds potable water to the list of basic necessities, and also provides a new definition of homelessness, and does allow for GA reimbursement for cell phones if they're needed for work-related purposes. So,
That's great.
so anyway, that's part of the state law. But as I was doing some additional research, I noticed that we need to post a notice of a public hearing. So what I would ask that you guys do is approve the appendices A through D and Appendix X. Those are the maximums for this coming year. And then at the next meeting, I plan on posting the public hearing, and we'll do the public hearing to update the GA ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
Well, Hank,
Made the motion.
because the appendices are part of the ordinance, so how do we approve the appendices outside of the ordinance, which is required, we're required to have a
Well, I
public
just
hearing?
assumed since y'all have done that since 1997, without ever updating the ordinance, that approving appendices was just something that was done as a matter of course.
Just because we kept doing it.
Yes.
I see.
But if you guys wanted to wait on this for another 2 weeks, we could just do it all in one fell swoop.
Let's do it all in one fell swoop.
Fine. It's okay with me.
Is that a problem?
No.
You're kind of sighing. Is there a reason why we shouldn't just
Well,
keep it
I-
all together in one?
I don't see a reason why we can't, I mean, do you need to use this material for tomorrow if they come in?
Well, funny you should mention it. I have a GA case coming in on Thursday morning. And I mean, I would still apply these.
Can you function without this, or
Maximum.
you would apply this?
I would apply these
Maximum.
to that case.
In that case, shouldn't we approve at least those appendices that apply? Somebody-
Well, it seems to make sense. If you apply the appendices, it seems like we should have approved them.
Well, I mean, we could split the appendices off from the main ordinance and just act on the appendices as, right now, use them, attach them to what we have in existence. I don't care. I made the motion. If nobody wants to second it, it dies.
I did second it.
Oh, it made and seconded, all right. Any other discussion?
And the motion was for the appendices,
To the appendices you quoted, the ones you said.
the
A
ones,
through
the
D
ones
and
that
H.
we've been, that have been continuously approved
Yeah.
since 1997.
Well, because we didn't know anything about them.
That,
I wonder what would
we-
happen if we
we-
didn't know anything about them
We
tonight.
tend to get this. I remember seeing this, where we were given what the GA maximums were, and we would
Right,
approve
we get all that.
Yep,
I've seen
I
the
these.
remember.
maximums.
Yeah, we've seen these.
But we didn't act on them.
Well,
Yeah, we did. It was
yeah,
over
because there's
performance
a-
type thing, though.
Because there's
We
a
did
form,
on-
there's a form like this that all you guys sign as part of that, and so you do actually approve these on a yearly basis. And to be fair, the reason that the GA ordinance probably hasn't been updated since 1997 is if I hadn't gone through the training and the field examiner hadn't told me that, then I wouldn't have known either.
But Denny's gone through the training.
Sorry?
Greg Gill went through the training.
And
And
I got
so
another
it's
one
not like
to
any of the
do, too.
town managers haven't gone through the training, they've
Well,
just
so
chosen
n-
not to
so
bring it.
now we know.
I don't know.
So,
Doesn't
and if
matter.
we should have been having a public hearing on adoption of the ordinance, then we should have been doing it. And shame on us for not doing it. But we'll do it however you guys want, and then we'll have a public hearing and not have anything there to discuss. So is that option two?
But we can do that later at the board meeting. I
right?
Yeah, which is what we've done in the past, with a public hearing prior to the board meeting, which is how we would, I would assume I
All
done.
right, the motion been made and seconded. If you don't like it, vote against it, but I won't call for a vote now. All those in favor? Opposed? Two in favor, 2 opposed. Thank you. Discussion possible, select board budget hearing date.
Well, I emailed you guys about this previously. Last week, we had, I thought, a productive discussion with our budget committee. Both Tom and Jack were a part of that, and so they offered some really good input. Mary and I are incorporating into the proposed budget. So you have your budget books there, the red notebooks, and that's the preliminary budget. We're going to be making some adjustments to it, but I thought that you guys might want that information. So I'm told the next step is to have a joint meeting where we hone that budget, present it to you guys with the budget committee there and our directors there to answer any questions that you might have. I was told this typically occurs during the first weekend of December, which would be December 7th and 8th, a Saturday and Sunday. But if you guys prefer to meet over a couple of evenings, we will certainly accommodate that as well.
Will it take more than a day? This is just a preliminary meeting, isn't it?
You guys would know more about that than I would, just as far as the amount of time that you typically
You think we
devote
need
to
a
it.
whole, even a whole day for that?
Well, I mean, the point is that we don't need 2 days.
That's right.
And I would move December 7th.
Is that the Saturday?
Yeah.
I'm not available on these Saturdays.
Anybody else?
I'm available either day,
Ernie?
you know.
I'm available whenever.
How about you,
I guess let's do it, and get it over with.
all right.
Melanie's not available on,
So let's do the 8th. If she's available on the
Yeah.
8th, let's
I'm
do it.
Well, that's
available
where I
on
was
the
going to
8th.
move to. I wanted to make sure that there weren't others there.
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Hey, let me just check.
Can we
just
do it
to
in the
be
afternoon?
Absolutely sure.
If we met at 1 o'clock, would that do it? And then if we have to go over, we can do it in the evening. Are you available any evenings or other than select board meetings?
They let me out early for select board meetings. Mondays I'm out sometimes at 5, and then that's usually 7 o'clock.
I'm available on the 8th, yes.
All right, let's meet on December 8th. The only reason I'm hesitant is I do go to church in the morning,
What time do you go?
at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Can we meet later in the morning? 10:30-ish, just the sooner we get in, the sooner we get out.
Well, we're gonna.
We've done
I
coffee
can't be
and-
sure when they'll be finished.
Oh, I
So
can
if
do
we're gonna
a
do,
service.
huh?
I can do a little service there.
Oh, okay, well, all right. The Reverend Mr.
The Reverend Dameron.
The Reverend Dameron will preside.
He's gonna take care
Or
of
he'll
us.
officiate. All
Okay.
right. Let's just do
That'll
this.
work for my once a
December
year.
8th.
God be
I'll
with
take
you.
a chance on going to hell that day.
Well, we'll be together again.
All right, December 8th, say 9 o'clock. How's that sound? 9 o'clock?
You want to do 9 in the morning?
9 in the morning.
Coffee and
That's right in the
snacks?
middle of the day,
When do you want to meet?
4 o'clock or so, so we get this thing done. No, I know you get up late, 9 o'clock's fine.
I have to be in church at 9:30, so.
Well, you're gonna be
All
late.
right, 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock on Sunday, December 8th.
sure.
That meet with the town manager also?
Yes, sir.
Usually,
Have the 2 budget committee members here, what do you think? Okay,
Is it just a meeting where we vote on recommendations?
I think so.
Initial review by the board with the budget committee there to weigh in. That's what it says.
So,
Department heads available to
It's
answer
initial
questions.
meeting.
yeah, so you guys need to educate me about the process. So do you do this, and then you come back and vote for the warrant articles? Is that
Yeah,
how
warrant
it
articles is a
works?
separate vote, actually.
Okay. And is that a special meeting other than a regular select board meeting, or you do it at a regular select board?
We've done it both ways,
But why can't we
actually.
do those together? I forgot,
I don't know.
why can't we just do it in one meeting.
So for the warrant articles, you'll want everything already written out?
Well, you're gonna have some of that already done, I would suspect.
Yeah, I mean, some of it, it looks like it's just a matter of course.
Some of them you won't have done until after we hand it back and
Can you be
forth.
ready, it's in a couple of weeks, can you be ready for, if we did everything one?
I think so. You guys.
You won't have all of them.
We're
You'll
not,
have
You won't have all.
we can't do this all in one fell swoop.
No.
We all remember last year,
Yeah.
the numbers changed, there was the
That's
whole
exactly
thing where
right.
like a chunk of Bruce's
we
budget
had to come back after
disappeared, nobody
January.
knew why, we had to go
Right.
back and revisit
You're
it.
right.
So
We had to
it's
come
the
back after
preliminary,
January.
it's where we get to ask questions about, and where initially they can be like, well, we'd like 10,000 for it, but yeah, if you can only say 8, we'll go with 8.
Yep,
And then we move to the second one, where whatever recommendations or whatever discrepancies we found are remediated. Then with the second one, then we approve it moving forward, and then the select board and the budget
We're gonna have to
committee.
vote on the article separately.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, that's probably why we did it, because that reason.
yeah.
We
Tend to
just did,
forget.
we had like 3 meetings one year, and we don't need 3.
No.
Well, remember
we had 3
well,
meetings last year.
we tried
It
to
seemed like we were meeting.
Yeah.
Well,
meet on top of
Meeting
meeting.
and meeting and meeting.
Because didn't we try to do it after select board meetings
Yes.
as well? So then it was, well, if we do 2 hours tonight, and then we do 2 hours at the next one.
Let's do it all.
But it had worked in the past, where, because years ago, that's how we did it, and then we tried doing like a Saturday, everybody shows up at 8 o'clock, everybody had a set time. This committee was this time, this committee was this time, and it seemed to flow really well. And I think we even did a Saturday, Sunday before.
All right, so, is there gonna be any problem with the department heads being here on Sunday?
I'll ask. I mean, I know church, Chris Doodle is a church-going man.
Well, set him up for after church. I mean, they don't all have to be here at the same time.
No, I'm
Right, we
just-
wouldn't
I'm-
ask them all to come at 8.
That's right.
No, and I would try to
Work
schedule it
around.
out like we did with the budget committee. We had a schedule where
Right.
they came in at different intervals and all. And so,
Right.
So, but he's the only one that I know has commitment on
Well,
this.
he may have to come in and give him a service too.
You come with
We
me.
come
at
in
8
for
o'clock.
Reverend Dameron's
That's
service.
right. You tell him Rick's running it.
Which one is Chris? Oh, Chris.
Our facility.
Yeah,
manager.
facility, okay. I never knew his last name. All right.
Call him Doodle.
All right.
Okay, so what
Was it
time on
Doodle?
December
I thought he said
8th?
Doodle. I was
9
like,
o'clock.
who's Chris Doodle?
9 a.m.
Doodle, gotcha.
Okay. Town manager's buying the coffee and donuts.
Somebody
All right,
better.
are we at the warrant?
We're at the warrant.
No.
Catch that, town manager, you're getting the donuts and the coffee. All right, discussion. Okay, warrant.
Warrant number 120, warrant total was $323,612.36.
I'll second that.
Questions?
Well, I couldn't open it on my phone, so.
Go ahead. I got a few
the-
questions, mostly questions. Fine, when I come to the yellow marks,
I have questions that are kind
Me
of
too.
funky questions.
go ahead, ask.
On the first page, under the road signs, check number 1936V or 68, excuse my eyeballs. White sign, road signs, what are they?
That's the name of the company.
Yeah, those are the signs at the road signs, I'm sure.
It's the name of the street.
They're road signs.
It's like street
But that's the name of the company.
It's
White
called
is the
White
company.
Sign.
Yeah,
The
they're
white's,
actually
the
green.
white's holding the sign.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just slightly
That
confused.
was
White
a-
sign, road signs. I
Yeah,
thought
that was
white,
a street
what-
name sign for Long Pond Drive.
what white road signs are there? I had envisioned
Any other
big
questions?
blank white.
Now,
Yeah.
on page, well, I think it says page 12 on,
Yeah, they're backwards. You
Here.
gotta change them around.
yeah. So on page 12, the 50-yard compactor roll-off, is that just the dumping of it? Did we buy a roll-off? What do we, $6,000.
I don't have a page 12.
Check number 19366.
Put it in brackets.
What the hell?
That's the way to do things these days.
Thank you.
50-yard comp, you wanna know what that is?
Yeah, did we buy a what did we buy it, or is that just
Town manager, can you explain that?
Okay, that was on your first
I'm
page
looking
you
at
saw.
that.
5-yard compact.
19366.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Show why we're buying dumpsters.
Well, because I look at, otherwise, I mean,
This looks like.
if this is what we're paying for 50 years, then it's 121
invoice for,
bucks that we're getting rid of.
Several different things. So that includes 50-yard compactor haul to crossroads, disposal per tons. That sounds like it's, and then, well, there's actually 3 of those. Each worth about $1,400 and change dollars. And
We buying it, or is it just hauled it off?
Oh.
it's hauling it off.
It's a service fee,
Yeah.
must
So
be.
these are several of them that are.
Waste services.
Notified if your
Yes,
payment
sir.
is due by,
Oh, if we go back on the next page, there's a 40-yard there too. It goes with that. Because it didn't add up.
well, that's what I was like, geez.
Oh, I see.
Sadie, go page 11, way down the bottom.
Darn.
That's one.
Incentive for all seasons dumpster also.
No, that's a different one. I think. Nope,
Oh,
you're
okay,
right.
so,
You're right.
so it's a charge from Waste Management
Yeah, so there are 3
for
different
the
charges.
I got it.
So that's
No,
the
I got it.
services rendered for the 50-yard compactor, the
Okay,
40-yard
so
roll-off.
these
and
ones
the
that must be on,
CFS dumpster.
okay,
All right, I get it
Okay.
now.
8413.
Who said or not, who asked that question?
Okay, I did.
You did, you said?
Said on that one, yes.
Any more?
Yeah, page 1, Melanie Alexander's lost check. Is this lost check from 2018 that we're still remedying?
This was something that the auditor caught, that it was a check that had been previously issued to her. She had never cashed it, and so it had to be reissued.
Was it a 2018 one? Because we had some issues that, I don't believe anyone's come back to us about the 2018 issues with those checks and all that stuff.
This looks like lost check May 1st, 2019.
Where do you see May 1st?
I see that, see where it says lost check?
Yeah.
Run your eyeballs over to the right,
Ah,
under the amount. column.
gotcha.
No, those things you're referring to, I think we're supposed to take your own, individually take your own accounts or take care of it individually.
Well, we'll come back to that after. We'll get through
Okay.
the warrant first.
Anything else? I've got a few.
I don't understand, down on page 1, the Bar Harbor Bank and Trust one, where it says check belonging to the Robert Guptill Trust.
Yeah, I circled that one too. I was like, what's
I don't, I guess I don't understand what that means, what the entry means. Because it's a 0, well, the encumbrance is 0.
If you'll give me just a second, Kathy, I thought I had my notes here, and I thought I made a note about that.
Okay.
Let me double check.
Well, I think because it says Belgrade Central School check
I bet it was given to the school.
was given to the
Yeah, that's
school
what I
on
thought it
behalf of the Robert
That's what I
Guptill
figured it
Trust
was.
from
That's what I figured it
Bar
was,
Harbor,
yeah.
because that's
Just
where
like if
we're
you go down the
keeping
next
it.
one, went to the fire department, I'm sure.
Right, we have the Alice Cram,
Right.
the Worthy Poor Trust.
Would this be what, the interest from those accounts that's paid out?
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
That's a once-a-year thing, I believe.
We're waiting for him to come back. Anything else?
Yeah, on page 5,
Yeah.
all the way down at the bottom under generators of Maine, it says repairs per the select persons for
I got that
special
too.
events. I'm like, what is that?
Oh, you didn't pick up your generator?
No, I'm like, if you're dropping one off, spot it on the West Road,
Yeah, I
they
had
could
that
use
one
one.
marked too. I
Have that
remember.
wired right in.
I suspect it's the one out back
It
here.
was, when we were talking about the old town office, because it says electrical repairs, old town office.
Oh, old
And
two.
there was something about the generator that came up that had to be repaired or something, then we
Oh, yeah, the old town office.
Yeah.
said it had to be done, you know, needed
It's
to be
only
done.
partial.
Prior to the
I
sale.
don't remember that coming before the select persons though.
I don't remember that about the generator.
I think,
No, I
I
don't.
remember it being discussed.
I do remember the repairs at the fire, at the old town
Well,
office.
but it was, it doesn't have to be a generator repair. I mean, there was something about some electrical issue that had to be addressed that wasn't up to
Yes.
code.
That was it.
That's
So
what-
that's not
Electrical
gen-
repairs
They
at
don't-
Old Town
They're not
Office.
just generators, they're,
Yep.
you know, electricians. So they
Yep.
fixed the electrical issue that wasn't up to code prior to the sale.
On the Bar Harbor and Trust, that was moving money from those funds into the trust, or into Bar Harbor for investment.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
So moving them into, because one says Belgrade Central School check, so it wasn't going to Belgrade Central School?
It was going to Bar Harbor.
Where does it say
So-
Belgrade Central?
So the money was going.
BCS check is right if you scan over to the right after Robert Guptill.
So the money was going from
Ah,
the
yes.
trust to be, or from Belgrade Central School into the trust to be invested with Bar Harbor.
So is this must be the interest from the Robert Guptill trust that is then gonna be invested, because that's what we invested
Yes.
for interest from, okay.
All right, we okay on those?
Yeah.
All right. Also still on page 5, we finished with the generators?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, on page 5, day store, all-day budget luncheon, what?
We worked through lunch with the, meeting with the budget committee, and so
I see.
we bought them lunch.
They don't rate a lunch.
Sure they do, they're hungry.
Yeah, okay,
What do you
that's
think
it
about
was.
that,
All right.
Jake?
Good, thank you.
You need to feed Jack.
You gotta feed Jack, yeah. All right, page 7. John Philbrook, this is number, you say
I
yes?
bet he did a soil test up on
No.
Potts Point Road.
No, he did the.
Grant septic system.
He did the design on the project on First Point
Yeah.
Road.
Okay.
Did
good.
soil test.
Yeah, okay.
No,
Is that different than a site evaluation?
Same thing.
Oh, okay.
is this, what, Philbrook?
Yes.
Is that part of what we're gonna get reimbursed for from the state, or are we paying that outright? Because that was my question, was reimbursement question mark.
I have one last one on page 9, minor. 19354, Rammaker and Associates, Pine Grove Cemetery Program. Oh, I think it's program.
What page is that?
9, right down the bottom. CIMS program.
Oh, I bet that's.
Oh, yeah, I
Oh,
was curious
Sims,
about
that's
that.
the computer.
What's that?
I bet it's the computer program.
That's the Sims program, locate the
Ah,
spots underground.
Gotcha, that's fine.
I keep track of them.
Okay, now I'm educated on that. Thank you, I have no more. Anybody else have anything else?
Well, I do. On the burials, are we contracting those out now versus doing them ourselves? So it's the first time I've ever seen.
We just dig the holes.
Yeah, but I don't remember that, I don't remember ever before seeing,
Yeah, we've always done it.
gosh, I don't ever remember seeing it like this.
It's different a little bit. isn't it?
Itemized
But
out.
There's one here wrong too, I see, on page 9. It's got pine tree waste for the porta potty. I don't think that's who that is.
Yeah, it's that other
That's
outfit.
not right.
Let me take a quick look.
Should be, Centermain disposal or something like that.
You mean Pine Tree Waste is not the name of the company?
No. Unless it's changed, and
Huh.
it could have.
I suppose it could have.
Why the toilets at the ball field listed
That'd be
twice?
pine scent waste, isn't it?
Well, I was thinking, do they have two over there that we're paying for at the ball field?
I don't know.
You're just so clever.
This is men's and
I
women's.
think so. I think they're unisex, but it's been a long time since I've had a kid playing ball, but I remember there being two.
Standard toilets.
I'm like, what is standard toilet?
Well, the ones that, nice.
must be different than a porta potty. These ones flush.
All right, anything else? Ready to vote?
There's a misspelled word. I know,
Where?
big deal. It's on page 10, under Spectrum Business. Spectrum receiver is misspelled.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Do you think maybe we ought to hold this money for Pike until they have a discussion? That might bring them to.
You know, I like that idea.
What's the page?
Page 9, $214,287.72.
Yeah, see, I have a hard time paying people when I'm not happy with their business.
That might bring them to attention, but that's up to the board.
Well, they're not done with either one of them yet, are they?
I wouldn't think so, but.
All right.
Ricky, just to answer your question, this invoice does say Pine Tree Waste.
Really? They must have changed names. And it was for $900?
Okay, do you want to hold the money on Pike? You want to hold Pike out of this for the time being?
Until after the conversation, until the settlement of
Well, it'll be-
timeline.
You know, they've done the work, that was reclaiming it. I mean, they did do that part, but.
So this work has already been done.
Well, look, I would say the Wings Mills Road and the Dunn Road reclaiming had been.
Yeah, we don't pay until the work is done.
But the paving on the Wings Mills isn't done, because they said that was gonna have to be
Thinking if you
done.
held that back for a little bit, that would draw their attention a little quicker, I would think, but.
Well, we can, when are you going to talk to them? You and Marcy, you're going to talk to them soon?
Well, I think, I'll work on that letter tomorrow. I'd rather talk to him sooner rather than later.
I would too. What I'm thinking is that if we have to come up and, once you're satisfied that everything's working right, then there's no reason for us to hold up the money once that happens. And we may have to just come up and sign the warrant.
Or we could approve it, and she just didn't send it, till he gives her the okay.
Until he gives you the okay.
Let's do that again.
That would be the simplest.
Let's do
Yes,
that. That way
yes.
the check is issued.
So let's
Just make
let's-
sure she doesn't send it.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's say hold send.
All right, we ready then?
Yep.
Vote. Okay, all in favor? Five in favor. Thank you, folks.
That was all very
Now,
exciting.
Question on this, Mr. Town Manager.
Yes, sir.
Did you say we did not vote on the ordinance?
So that's different than the sheet that will be signed when you guys consider the ordinance. That's just for the appendices. So
Okay.
there's an ordinance that is updated every so often, and then there's appendices that are.
Well, I was going by what it said at the top. General assistance order.
And if you guys will excuse me just a second, I'm gonna go ahead and email Mary right now, so I.
And just ran out of
They don't forget.
Yeah, right.
Well, try this one.
No, it's still enough.
Did you?
Yeah, then we can do it. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Hope you enjoyed your lunch.
They're only eating half of it, so there's room for, saving money next year.
On the auto
We're just
half.
gonna save the sandwich.
You guys are on Weight Watchers.
Is that,
I'm thinking,
thing we need to sign?
Yes.
Do you have
I
a?
like that,
pen
saving
and
the
paper?
sandwich.
Yes.
I did not. Terrible tonight.
All right. Town Manager, you got anything for us?
Yes, sir, just very, very quickly. Just
Thank you.
the top two things I wanted to direction from you guys on. I was going to bring the fire department cost recovery ordinance here because we made the changes that you guys had requested when we talked about it previously. But one of the things that I want your direction on as to how to approach this, we know that we want to use those revenues to help fund a second fire hydrant. Do we want to include that language in the ordinance? The way I see it, there are three options, unless you guys have some other ideas. We could include that language in the ordinance. We could put a perpetuity article in front of the voters at the town meeting, or we could simply just do that on an annual basis as a warrant article. I mean, it'd be more efficient to include it in the ordinance if that's how you guys want to go about that. But before I bring you the ordinance, I want some directions to whether or not to.
recovery money?
Yes, sir. Whether or not to include that in the ordinance, that that the revenues from that on an annual basis would go to paying for firefighter payroll.
Well,
And is this a second full-time firefighter?
It would be.
Because this is the first time that the taxpayers would have heard about a second full-time firefighter. We just barely got through one full-time firefighter a handful of years ago, so I would not think it would be a perpetual article.
Oh,
you said.
Right off.
Would not be?
It wouldn't be, I wouldn't think right away. I would think we've got to,
I think it's gotta be the taxpayers'
Yeah.
approval. That's mine.
And then make it perpetual next time around.
Maybe.
yeah, or even a couple.
Or see what the taxpayers want to do.
You know, because one of the concerns was having one full-time firefighter was when they're not out actively firefighting, was there really enough for them to be doing to justify paying that cost?
Well, I think Dan briefed you guys once before on our discussions with Rome, where we want to sort of ease into that, where hopefully they'll approve half of a firefighter, we'll approve half of a firefighter. That'll provide 7-day coverage during the day for medical calls for both communities.
This is actually rescue, not firefight. I mean, they fall under that head, but I mean.
Yes, but the primary purpose is to ensure that we have 7-day coverage
Yeah.
for medical calls.
Yeah. And it's meant to, yeah, so we have more or less 24-hour coverage.
Well, sentiment seems to be to make it a one-time deal, and then
But you're still not gonna get 24-hour coverage. Huh?
Yeah, it wouldn't be 24 hours, it would be,
I mean,
you know,
8 hours.
8 hours a day.
The article I'm talking about.
Close.
Yeah, better than what we got.
It'd be 7 days a
Yeah.
week then, I guess. or
Correct.
something like that.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have to have per diem firefighters
That's
to
right.
take medical
That
calls.
was the idea.
Well, of course you
pro-
will.
you're still
If
probably
they're
gonna-
Oh,
anywhere
during the
around
off
that,
hours.
yeah.
Or
There's still
you guys
16
gonna have
other hours.
vacations and sick
Oh,
time
sure.
and days off and.
Will this be on the floor?
So again, my thinking was if you guys wanted to include it in the ordinance, we could include it in the ordinance, which of course the voters have to approve. And that way, we wouldn't have to take an article before the voters every single year.
I think you should for the first few years, just so they know what's really going on.
Okay.
Well, what I'm thinking is if it's on the floor,
Probably ought to be.
can it be amended on the floor to make it perpetual, or if we put it in as a one-time thing, can somebody, because then they have a chance to discuss it.
But the trouble is, you don't know how much money you're gonna get on this.
Well, and I have
recovery thing.
I have a solution for that too. So, and I agree with you completely. I think this is going to be a very uneven revenue source from year to
Yeah.
year. So what I would propose doing is we collect it one year and then we spend it the next. That we know how much
So
exactly.
you got it,
that we
cash
have.
in your pocket when
That's
you
right.
go.
And so,
Absolutely.
and so let's say that a firefighter costs $50,000 a year. 1 year we collect $20,000, so we know that we're going to have to
Raise and appropriate the rest.
correct.
Of course,
That's a clean way to do it.
in order to keep the salt problem down, we just don't salt the roads. They will-
Wow, you know, I'm gonna bring that up, that's a discussion we're gonna have here in a couple of minutes.
All right. So we're set on that.
So we won't include it in the ordinance, and we'll take
Take
a
that.
warrant article for a few years and see how that goes.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else?
Oh, also, I had told you guys that we were seeking some grants to help improve the lighting at the Center for All Seasons. We've gotten $4,000 worth of incentives from Efficiency Maine. The Nature Conservancy, we expect next week to get about another $2,000, but that still leaves a $10,000 gap for funding that project. We do not have that in the recreation or the facility maintenance budget. And so, I just want to see if you guys want to approach this in a different way. If we don't, I assume that we'll have to go to the town voters to see if they would be willing to approve that $10,000, whether it be from the operating budget or from the capital reserve for the Center for All Seasons. That will necessitate that we reapply for this grant again next year without any guarantee that we would get it. But I assume.
Can we use their 4,171 to start the project?
Good question, Melanie.
Because honestly, coming out of that rec center tonight in the dark with it raining, I saw somebody almost fall down the stairs because you couldn't tell, she couldn't tell the way the light is there, if it was 2 stairs or 3.
Yeah, it's
So
dangerous. It is dangerous.
it is very dangerous, and the parking area up close, I don't remember it being as dark as it was. The motion sensor on the light did not come on. I was on the opposite side, and it is pitch black out there. But I know we're talking about inside lights.
Both
That-
inside and outside.
Well, the outside is something that definitely we should address, I think, since you're absolutely right about it.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
And one of the things I had posed on when I talked to Efficiency Maine is, well, you know, we don't have the funds available now. What if we started pursuing this in January, you know, when we're in the budget? Thoughts? I mean, is that something that's doable, or?
When you want to start in, I would think.
Well, if they've approved this for this year, can we reapply for a second grant after January 1st?
I don't know why you don't.
2 separate projects now.
Why, another year?
Because they're funding projects, so they're not gonna come back and let you get a second bite at the apple for a specific project.
So we gotta change the name of the place.
It's the Jack Sutton Recreation Center,
Hey, it's a paper trail.
Yeah.
Center for the Summer.
So I'll definitely ask about that, but if that's not a go, if they won't say, if we say, well, can we spend your 6,000 first, then we'll commit to spending the other 2,000.
We can approve it out of the
Recreation?
recreation.
Capital
Capital
reserve.
reserve.
It's got a balance of
Yeah, we can do that
172,000.
as a board,
You can.
Okay, yeah.
with the rec center's approval.
I'd-
Well, no, we don't,
Yeah,
but, you know, it'd be
because
nice,
It's nice to ask them about it.
you know, especially if we're gonna have lobsters and stuff.
Now, the thing is, we're gonna, out of that fund, as you mentioned, there's a 55,000 that's going to 3 sides of the building.
Correct.
Then we're pretty near having a bid, at least one bid, on the
Well,
north end of
The
it.
addition?
Well, we'll have the design, and then we'll have to put it out for bid. So at this point, we don't have any idea what that's gonna
And
cost.
but, you know, that work probably won't be, you know, that'll be done next year before the season, I hope. And so that's some additional funds, maybe, you know, that could be $30,000 worth of work, you know, just on that north end, you know, or more, I don't know exactly, so.
But if we're just talking 10,000 out of 172,
Yeah, no, I mean, so
55,
my point
we
is
figure
that
a high point.
out of that 170, you know, there's already 75 or 80 of that is more or less going to be spent on the outside of the building. So that still leaves us money in there to do this 10,000.
Yes, it does.
I'd like to see at some point next year as well, what do they call it, a heat,
Heat exchanger?
Heat pump?
no, you know, where they checked where all the leaks are.
The efficiency.
Oh,
The efficiency test, because before next winter, that building in, you know, after the outside work is done, you know, there should be some insulation work done, you know, just blown in
Right.
where needed, after the work is done, to just, you know, really keep that tight so that we don't have the ice buildups and things like that that we did. So, I mean, that's next year, you know, so, just, you know, and I don't imagine that's wildly expensive, but it could be.
Well, how about this? So when we hear back from the Nature Conservancy, which we're supposed to hear back by November the 15th, why don't, at your next meeting, I'll bring you what the total amount of the grants
Sure.
and incentives are,
Yeah.
and then you guys can consider whether or not you want to spend the balance of that project out of the
Sure,
capital reserve fund.
that sounds good.
Good,
Good.
so.
And then one other thing I just wanted to mention, we hit 2 milestones today. We crossed the 500 likes threshold on Facebook for the town's Facebook page.
Oh, boy.
So I think that's probably about double what it was
We're really popular.
a few months ago.
Right.
That's
We
good.
have a lot of friends.
Good.
So, and I.
Well, it's a good way of getting information out.
It is, it is. And I've collected now 100, as of this afternoon, 102 responses on the fiscal year survey. So I was hoping to get at least 100, so.
Great.
Yes.
That's it.
Good, thank you. You have an executive session?
Yes, sir. Just one brief one.
Can I ask a couple of questions before we go into that? You know, something that really worse, we're talking about all these contaminated wells that got out here. And here we are ourselves in the town of Belgrade doing salt priority roads. You can't tell me that salt isn't going into those wells that now we're putting another, I don't know how many miles it is out around there, but
Well, and that's why I tried to pinpoint him on that at 2 out of our 3 meetings.
you know we're getting it down here on the hill. He's already
I
told me
know.
that. So,
And
I'm a little concerned about that.
supposedly
I
the
think we
composition
need
is
to really look
different,
at
but then at the second meeting, he said, well, like, there hadn't been a long-term study done to see what was gonna happen with that. I'm like, it freaking runs downhill. Like, this is not I'm not a rocket scientist,
We've
but
already had trouble
I
with
said
wells.
before we built this here, what we were gonna have for a saltwater issue, and nobody, it's right in the triangle.
But I think
It's where it all goes with that aquifer.
That's just something we need to keep in mind, think about real hard.
I think we should think about it really hard. I am not a salt fan,
You know, no, you're right.
and I do think we really, really need to look at some of the research and see what we can do in our town to reduce it. Because I think that it puts the lakes at risk all the time.
My trucks too.
Yeah, well, to say nothing of the wear and tear on
Well,
vehicles,
the
but still.
composition actually, Kathy,
I'm
changed.
sorry?
The composition actually changed over the years because we increased the amount of salt to the sand because the levels of the phosphorus in the lakes from the runoff were
Yep.
getting too high because we were using more sand because we didn't have as much salt in it. So, you remember, Jack and Rick, I think you were on the board at the time.
Yeah, it's
Where-
the way to go, as far as the sand and salt mixture. But clear salt, I'm still not a buyer on that, you know that.
Well, and I didn't notice, I mean, I remember calling the Warren Brothers and saying, was this part of the salt priority? Because I wasn't noticing a big difference, but what I was noticing was that it supposedly is warming up the road surface, but it doesn't seem to have worked because they're worse now than they were in the past.
Anyway, that was number one. The second thing I'm still concerned about is that deal down the Belgrade Central School that's sticking out in the road. I can't even believe the Warrens, except they're gonna hit that. I'm gonna hit that, plowing
Somebody
that.
else gonna hit it too.
And I wanna make sure we know who's gonna be responsible when somebody hits that and flips a car over, because they're gonna. No doubt in my mind. Is the school gonna take the responsibility of that, or is it gonna be the town of Belgrade?
The school should. be
Well, I know they
fixing
should,
it.
but I think I'd like to see it in writing, or something.
Last I heard that the Carl had said that they would remove that.
Not with the last email. we
Yeah,
got.
no, so, he asked if they could stake it and see if that works. And I said, I will ask our sewer pile operators, and so I contacted Terry Warren. He said, yeah, I think that'll work fine. But I told the superintendent, we'll try it, but if it doesn't work, then we may have to reconsider removing that curb. And he was agreeable to that, so.
I'm just
And you have
concerned about it. I
you
mean,
have those emails, of course.
Well, make sure you save them.
Well, and I just almost think that they should have just had to come back and fix it right in the first place. Just something.
Somebody's gonna get,
Mhm.
I've seen the town get sued for less than that, so.
So I'm curious, so is your concern that a snowplow will end up running into a car, or,
No, the snowplow's probably gonna get damaged, and I'm worried about a car hitting that.
oh, a car hitting you?
I mean, there's always a bump right there.
Yeah.
And you know what happens when you go through a bump on a slippery road, you lose a
Yeah.
little bit of traction, and, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, no, I understand. And so, I mean, just from my sensibilities, if I hit that, I would think that school property, the school would be responsible. Why do you think-
You would, it's out in town property though.
Oh, because it's in the right of way?
And we pay the school budget.
Why don't we just tell them to get it off the town property? We'll be done with it.
Well, I don't want to play the mean guy here, but
Well,
I'm just concerned
so-
about,
So,
safety of people.
As luck would have it, Rick, he actually asked if he could come and just give a short presentation to the select board. He's going to be here at the next select board meeting.
It's gonna be too late to do it. I mean, it's gonna be froze. I mean, I'm.
What do you think would be involved in?
They gotta dig it out. and then you know, you gotta tape it or something, so, but that's way too close. I mean, even the next entrance is out too far.
Where,
Where the-
the round island
Yeah.
part? Yeah. I mean, to me, that looks like the bigger issue.
The first one by the pole is the one they're gonna hit first,
Yeah,
because it's always been back, I mean, there's been nothing back to the pole.
Right.
Now, I mean, but, that was just, I just wanted you guys, I want to make sure it was in a public meeting that we talked about it, that we're concerned about it. Jack's got his hand up over there too.
Yes, sir.
Has anybody looked at that curving or whatever it is that's being built at the old town office, right along Pleasant Road?
I noticed they have the cement mixer out there this weekend.
They got a permit from DOT for that.
We did, because that looks like it's awful close to the smoke too.
But anyway, that's all I had.
So,
Thank you.
so Rick, what do you think I need to do in order to ensure we're protected just to some extent?
Well, I mean, if you've got emails and you
Okay.
think he's happy with it, let it go, but I just, you know, I want to make sure that we're covered if something does happen.
What's he coming here to talk about?
He just wanted to make just a brief elevator speech about RSU 18, answer any questions that you guys might have. So,
What else is on the agenda? Let's
I think
talk
we're
about-
good.
Let's talk about income.
okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
No, Chuck.
Oh, we'll shoot them all away when we got to talk about this
Have a
stuff.
lovely time.
Don't trip over.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, somebody make a motion to,
Exit, no,
I will make a motion that we,
exit the select board meeting.
well, we can't, we got to go in executive session.
We have to exit the regular select board meeting
Well,
to
that's what I'm
enter
asking.
into
Okay,
executive
yeah,
session.
let's do it that way. Yep, I'll make that motion.
second.
Second.
No, we gotta wait for the door to close.
Sorry, we can get into executive session, we just can't talk here.
Make a motion to enter executive
I'll
session.
second that.
We didn't vote on the first one, but okay.
Oh, wait.
I thought I saw your hand
Can
up.
Yeah, I
Nick,
did. Yeah,
can
we'll vote
Nick be
on that
here
one.
for that?
Say again?
No. That's,
So Nick can't be here for that?
I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to- yeah,
I was like, wait a minute, one of these people does not belong
Yeah, I
here.
know, don't go
I'm
home.
just not gonna start until,
What's that? Until I
We can't talk about you while you're here.
Well, we can.
see now.
Thank you, Nicholas.
thank you, Nick.
Nicholas knows I talk about him anyways, whether he's here or not. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Look at him, he's like, run like the
Yes,
wind.
please.
Yes, thank you.
Is the microphone and everything on? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's,
We got a smart new one.
He's like, yeah, you
I don't
guys
know
talk
what we're
about
gonna
whatever
do.
you want, I'm gonna listen to the meeting
You
tomorrow.
hang around me, you'll go places. Right, Mike?
you said
Where
it,
we going?
right to hell.
Yeah, in a handbasket.
Then this church that day. Jeez, I
I'm
can
going
see
to
it.
8 o'clock.
It's all right, he'll absolve you.
You hear that?
Yeah, I heard it was on 8. I don't like this.
He couldn't, hey, he ain't going because he couldn't be up there.